What's up? What's up? What's up? It's your girl Neek, and you're tuned in to Neek at Night. And I am about to break down live coverage of what we experienced while we were in the courtroom. Now, I am going to go live and give you guys my accountings on the things that I saw while we were there on trial, and some of the other media personalities and media correspondents who were also in there. I have also sent them the link as well. So when they get done with, recapping their parts, hopefully they join in as well. I am going to read through what I jotted down, because when you are looking at tweets and trying to follow the transcript on what is said about court, about the closing arguments, and about anything, you can't really get the vibe, the temperature. You can't see the jurors' expression. You can't see the judge and, everything, how everything is going. So I just want to just walk y'all through it. So this live might be a little minute, because I have a lot of notes that I want to get through. And I just want to read to you guys and cover this the best of my ability so that we could get on into this gig. So we started out the day in the morning, getting there and getting ready to hear what they had for the next day. I mean, yesterday they pretty much mentioned that there possibly was another witness for the prosecution that was going to testify, but they were not sure if that witness that was for the prosecution was going to come or not. So we would find out today if they had that extra witness. All week there had been mention of the driver being missing. He was supposed to testify, to my knowledge, last week, and he was nowhere to be found. They could not locate him. They tried to locate him. They also tried to locate Justin, who was Meg's bodyguard, who supposedly heard Tory give a confession and attest to, shooting Meg when he went to go pick up her belongings. And he was basically missing as well. All this time, we've been wondering, like, why haven't we heard from the driver? Where's the driver at? What's going on with the driver? So we get to court and we're trying to find out, who is about to testify, who is there, or are they about to go and do closing arguments? They tell us to get there at a certain time. We get there promptly at that time. And I noticed there was this gentleman that was, in there. And so we started, once we started, they told us that we were going to have an hour break. Like, they were like, oh, we thought we were going to start at this time, but we're going to have to delay you guys for an hour. Well, while we were sitting in there, some of the people who knew what Quan looked like, they was like, that's Quan. That's the driver. He's outside. So people started to, like, all of the media in there, no matter what publication, was like kids in candy stores, child. We was like, oh, we get to hear from the driver? The driver is here? He's literally sitting right there. That's the guy that we all just walked past. We were like, oh my God, I cannot wait to hear what he has to say. Like, clearly, he has some great testimony, as he was sitting outside the whole time. He wasn't a part of the party. He was in the car the whole time. And they're saying that he was joined in on beating Megan. So we all, like, everybody in the courtroom, we're like, we get to hear from Quan. We get to hear from Quan. Like, all the major news publications, they was like, oh, I can't wait. Like, I can't wait. We need to hear what he has to say. He was the driver. We're waiting and waiting. The prosecution leaves out. The defense leaves out. They all go out and they're talking. I don't know if they're talking to Quan or what they're doing, child, but they all left out. And we just like, ooh, this is about to be good, because he is going to either corroborate what Tory had to say, or be another Kelsey with the I don't knows, I don't remembers, or he was going to just lay it out flat and tell it like it was. So I'm just trying to figure out which one was it. Was it going to be I don't remembers, I don't know? Woo. So we're sitting there. Tory Lanez was in the courtroom, And then Tory Lanez attorney come back in, and they called Tory Lanez out to talk to them and into the little like into like a certain like double door area or whatever. And so the lawyer is talking to him and I guess basically telling him what happened. So they go in, court is now in session, and we like, we can't wait to see the driver. You know what I'm saying? Like the driver is about to testify because he was the one who drove him and stopped and, said or supposedly told Kelsey that Tory and Megan get into this type of thing all the time. All kind of stuff. They didn't go into the chambers. They went into they didn't go into the hallway. But okay, so basically when we come to court, we walk through a set of double doors, and then it's like a little square box area where you could kind of wait in there, and then you walk into court. So it's like you go through two doors to get into court. So they went in between those two doors. They didn't go into chambers. They went like right there in that hooded area. But anyways, so they court is in session, and the judge asked if they were producing any more witnesses. And they said they had no more witnesses that they was going to call. And I said, hey, y'all don't got no witnesses, and the guy is outside. He's sitting right there outside. What you mean y'all ain't got no more witnesses? He's literally right there. What? We're not going to hear from the actual guy that was in the car? What? How you make it at? Oh, the corridor. Yeah, that's what it's called. I'm like, how do you make of that? So then we find out that prosecution wanted to hold up the proceedings. Prosecution said that if he testifies, we need to wait. We need time. We're gonna delay the court proceedings until after Christmas. Which they were doing it on purpose, like, you know what I'm saying? Because they knew it was a possibility that he could have been corroborating or what sounded in Tory's defense. And so they wanted to delay. And, so they were like, you know what? Let the show go on. We'll just go without Quan. They go out, tell Quan that he could leave or whatever. And that was that. So once they start giving the jury instructions on how they are to decide this case. They're telling them their instructions. They made it clear that Tory Lanez was not on probation at the time, because that was one of the things that Megan said that was a part of the bribe. Like, oh, this can't come out because I'm on probation. So before court came in, they made it very clear he was not on probation. And the diversion program that he was on in 2017 was also completed 2 months after court in 2017. So they were like, he was on no type of record, nothing at all. So like, why would he say he was on probation when he wasn't on probation? Okay. After that, they basically telling us like the things that he was up against. He was up against assault with a semi-automatic pistol. They wanted the jury to prove if he willfully did it to cause harm or force, if what he did with the semi-automatic pistol resulted in force, and if he had the ability to do it. Count 1 was shooting a firearm in a grossly negligent manner, and could it result in the death of another person? And was he careless or reckless in the commission of using this firearm that could cause death or bodily injury? Count 2 was unlawfully carrying a firearm in a vehicle. And then after that, since we took so long to decide whether the driver, Quan, was going to testify or not testify, and it took so long for him to read every single jury instruction, at that point, we broke for lunch. So we left, we went to lunch, and then the prosecution started out with their testimony on building their case of why Tory was guilty. So before I read through it, Vince, when you heard the prosecution give their testimony on convincing the jury that Tory Lanez was guilty, what did you think at that point?
They weren't telling the whole truth. They were telling half truths that would make their client look the best. They weren't telling the whole part, the other side of it, which is basically lying by omission.
Okay. And so they were basically, their whole thing that they tried to build their Tory is guilty argument about, they were trying to say that the whole time the defense been misleading them, been purposely not sharing certain information. And before the defense even got up, I'm like, that's what y'all been doing. Like, I literally been seeing y'all do that. So like, what? That was crazy. So I'm gonna read some of the transcripts. They started out reading a statement from Meg. I'm gonna bring Vince back up in a second, but hang on, Vince. So they started out by reading a statement from Meg. So Meg basically said, if I would have known that coming out and speaking my truth would come with people agreeing with me being shot, if I would have known, I would have started to lose my confidence. She said basically she would have never came out if she would have known that this outcome that she got was the outcome that she got. They wanted to know if count one proved that he didn't act with a semi-automatic that would probably result in the application of force to the victim willfully. And they said, was he aware of facts that this would result in the victim, like force to the victim? They wanted to make it clear because there was a lot of mention of alcohol. They drank a lot of alcohol. They had a lot of alcohol in their system. And he wanted to make it clear that voluntary intoxication is not a defense. This started with the victim, and she told you what happened. He said they left the party with the defendant, Kelsey and Quan. Meg, Kelsey, and Tory argue. So basically, he starts off the closing arguments lying and saying that Meg first, like he was making it seem like they immediately left with Kelsey, Tory, and the driver. That's not true. When they left, they originally left only with the driver, and Tory was still at the party. Okay? He was still at. So he said they left the party with the defendant, Kelsey and Jaquan. Meg, Kelsey, and Tory started to argue. Now, as we were listening to testimony, he basically did not lay out the true facts. Okay? He did not lay out the true facts. The true facts were they left the party with the driver. Meg said she lost her shoe. Tory didn't leave with them. They went back to the party, and then Tory came with them, and that's when they went on about they merry way and this incident happened. They claimed that this was over Megan stealing Tory, but that's not really what made them mad. He was like, they claimed that this was about, Tory and Kelsey and him, dropping the bombshell that he has slept with them too. He was like, that's not what this was about. That is not what sent Tory over the edge. What sent Tory over the edge was Meg Thee Stallion insulting him about his ability as an artist. He said Meg wanted to get out as it got heated. So he tried to insinuate that, Megan is insulting him because he's a bad rapper, and that's what this really is about. Like, that's why Tory Lanez got so mad to shoot her, because he is basically trying to be mad about his rap career. Okay? They said, and after it got heated, she walks away and Tory yells, "Dance, bitch." Then she was hit with 5 rounds with a semi-automatic weapon, injury to both of her feet. Fighting. So on here, the closing arguments, he says, she walks away, Tory yells, "Dance, bitch." Then she was hit with 5 rounds with a semi-automatic injury that shot both of her feet. And they were like, she was terrified. She was in her bikini. She had to crawl to the driveway. Kelsey was just the loving comforting friend. Kelsey was such a good friend to Meg at this point, and she was loving and comforting her. She said that they get in the car and take off. He said this was about 4:30 a.m. Okay? He said Tory was apologizing, and so in their minds, things okay. So he said Tory was apologizing to them, so in their minds, it was the right thing to do to get back in the car with him. He said, think back to when Meg testified. She started in the morning very guarded. Then by the afternoon, her walls came down and she was very vulnerable, raw with emotion. Was she telling you the truth that afternoon? Everybody in court knows the answer to that. And then he put up another statement that she posted. I was able to get some of it, but I didn't write all of it. He said, Meg said, I'm having a really difficult time telling my story. I have to sit across people spreading misinfo and sit across Tory. I like to look strong. I can't look weak. I want to come off like a strong woman. I don't want them thinking they've been taken from me. She didn't want them taking her power. He said, do you believe her? So then they showed a video of Meg Thee Stallion in the ambulance. And I didn't hear the audio because they didn't have the audio on. But when they previously played it in court, he said that when she was in the ambulance, she was crying. He said, why would she lie? Why would she lie about what happened to her at the time of the event? Her and Kelsey were really close. So why would Meg say the defendant shot her if it isn't true? Ask yourself if that makes sense. She didn't even want to come forward. She wanted to protect the people in the car that night. So when she did come forward, why would she lie? She told you about fears coming forward. She said hip hop was like a boys club and there would be fallout and with her career. It says she saw IG messages of people threatening to blank her off the face of the earth. And then she said no one believed her at the time that she came forward. So then they read another statement from Meg. It says, now that I come forward and I said I was shot by Tory, it feels like every man in the music industry with position of power, even people who are not rappers, they have never even cared to hear my story. It says, if you believe Meg and what she said, this case is done. It's over. That's enough. But of course, we have more evidence than what she said in court. We have Meg's testimony. We have Kelsey in September and Kelsey in court. Something happened to Kelsey between September and court. Something spooked her. Somebody got to her. Maybe she took a bribe. She remembered nachos where people were sitting in September. But at trial, any questions about the defendant, she couldn't remember. She had courtroom amnesia. Getting her to admit Tory shot her or the bribe was like pulling teeth. What happened from September to now? Let's go back to July 2020 to fund Kelsey. When she was Meg's best friend, always together with Meg, she was Meg's assistant. She cared a lot about Meg. The September interview, we see how much she cared for Meg. In that car, all she cared about was Meg. Meg had her bloody feet on her, and she comforted her and sent text to Justin saying Tory shot Meg. Let's talk about the defense. They want you to believe the woman who comforted her shot her. Even when she sent the text to Justin saying help Tory shot Meg. Is this true actions of a girl who shot Meg? Is she some type of criminal mastermind where she is framing the defendant within 5 minutes of the shooting, texting Justin while she is comforting Meg? It doesn't make sense. Where is Justin? We told you he was supposed to speak, but where is he? You heard about Tory offering bribes. Thankfully, we have the text that Kelsey sent to him that said, "Help, Tory shot Meg." In the September interview, she talked about getting handcuffed. I wasn't really worried about myself at that point. I was worried about Meg. So they showed body cam footage where Kelsey at the scene of the crime, she basically was crying, sniffling, and she was like, "Meg, are you okay? Are you okay?" And things like that. She said, "That's how a best friend would act after seeing her best friend get shot. You can see blood down Kelsey's leg. That's not Kelsey's blood. That's Meg's." She said Meg dropped her leg on her in the car. Kelsey was concerned. In the September interview, the defense insinuated we pressured her into making statements, so you got to see the entire interview to prove that was not true. Me and Kathy barely even talked. It's a sad story. They were best friends in July. But by September, during our interview, they were no longer friends. They are not friends because of this incident, but because each person felt the other didn't have each other's back. That's why they stopped being friends, not because of this. While apart, it was like the game of telephone. They would see certain IG posts, they were isolated from each other, things were being said, and they felt like one another didn't have each other's back. They thought, people were taking bribes and things like that. It wasn't from the actual incident, it was because they felt like each other didn't have each other's back. He said, Kelsey, in this situation, she felt alone and isolated. Imagine what that would do to her mental state or Meg's mental state. So they put in an excerpt from the September interview, and they said, she said, "They think we fell out because of Tory. I tried to free my mind about this, but every time I look around, she is making a diss track about me and talking about me." He said, "Why would the defense intentionally mislead you by not wanting you to hear the full picture, corroborating evidence? We have the text message that she sent to Justin. We have photos of her injuries. We have the messages that she sent of her injuries to Meg's team. We have EJ's testimony. We have the jail call where Tory Lanez was calling and apologizing. We have Instagram posts where Tory Lanez said, I'm not the shooter. Cabral's body cam where she is crying, asking Meg, is she okay? And we have Megan's testimony. This is the prosecution that's saying this. This is the prosecution statement. So when you think which Kelsey to believe, I hope you believe September Kelsey. She has been compromised in some way. I want to mention Bussin' Back diss track. The whole song, she says she is not the shooter. The defense only showed you the first line where it makes you think she was doing the shooting. Why is the defense trying to mislead you? We know in September she was not protecting Meg. She wasn't there to corroborate what happened to Meg or make Meg sound better, just there to tell the truth. My purpose is to tell the truth and free myself from this, is what Kelsey said. They talk about the hate they get online. So, of course, she wanted to free herself. They get a lot of hate behind this. He said, we have evidence against Tory, and they continue to say, we have Meg's testimony, Kelsey's testimony, Kelsey's text message. We talk about bribes and legal meanings. He was saying things like, please don't say nothing about this. I will give you $1 million. I already got caught with a gun before. Don't tell on me. If the defendant tries to get people to be discouraged to testimony, that may allude that he is guilty. The jail call happened where he was apologizing. There is no reasonable explanation that he was apologizing for anything other than the shooting. There's no way you can make any reasonable explanation to think that he was apologizing for anything other than that. He said, this call is an apology for shooting Meg. Try to make it about something else and see if it makes sense. If I apologize, they won't talk. And he apologized to Meg, and he was trying to keep this internal. So they showed transcripts of the phone call. I'm not gonna go word for word, but this was a phone call that he had with Kelsey, and he was saying, hey, she was saying, he asked her, like, did they get out safe and everything? He said, y'all got out safe, y'all good? Meg's still in the hospital? And which hospital? She said, I don't know, let me see, she's in Cedar. He said, I know she probably never talked to me again. I just want you to know I was so effing drunk, N-word. I didn't even know what the F was going on. He said, regardless, it won't make it right. It won't make my actions right. Bro, I'm just deeply sorry, bruh. I never even moved like that. She said, I know, there's a lot. There's a lot that happened, but he talks about how he was drunk, and sorry. He said, I don't even remember what we were arguing about. But what he does remember is pulling the gun in the center console. So then the prosecution was like, he doesn't remember what they were talking about, but he did, but I bet you he remembers pulling the gun from the center console. He's like, I bet you that's something that he's not gonna remember. Okay. So I'm gonna see if Vinny, are you ready to chime in?
Yes, I am. Sorry
Okay.
about earlier.
So jump in at that point. Did you hear up into that point?
Which part did you leave off on?
When they were having the phone call, and he was like, Tory Lanez claimed that he didn't remember what they were arguing about. And then the prosecution was like, I bet you he remembered getting the gun out of the center console. I bet you he remembered that. That's not something that you forget.
A lot of what they were saying about that is just misleading, which is exactly what they were accusing the defense of doing. And it was very hypocritical of them to include that in their closing statements. This whole thing was trying to appeal to the jury's emotions, and everything they were saying is just misleading, where they're trying to make their client look good and win the argument by basically twisting the actual evidence to try and make it seem like it means something else other than it actually does, and try and fabricate some new meaning to whatever they want it to be. Besides what is actually on the record, what's actually on the official court documents. And that's what the defense was trying to bring up in court, that, wait a minute, you're misstating this testimony, you're misstating the evidence. So the things he was saying wasn't actually true. He was telling half truths, and he wasn't telling the entire truth. He was trying to twist stuff that wasn't actually what happened, to make the jury speculate. He was basically he was encouraging them to speculate on what happened instead of what actually happened, to try and get them to think how he wanted them to.
Right. Correct. All right, I'm gonna drop you back down and real quick. All right, so back to the call. So basically, while he was on the call, Tory Lanez basically said to Kelsey, like, I'm the only one that's gonna get backlash from this. Like, I'm the only one that this is gonna fall on. Okay. And then so the prosecution was like, why would he say he was the only one to get backlash? Because he did it. He shot Meg. Okay. He said, they want you to believe Kelsey is the shooter. So let's keep up with the evidence. We have the text message that he sent to Meg apologizing. Meg, I know you're probably never going to talk to me again. I want you to know I'm really sorry from the bottom of my heart. Nonetheless, shit should have never happened. Okay? So they said, we also have the location of the gun. So they showed body cam footage of the police officers retrieving the gun. So when the police officers got the gun out of the car, they mentioned and they said the gun is warm to touch. They said it's warm to touch. They said, where was Tory sitting? Okay. They wanted to know where Tory was sitting. Why is the gun under the passenger seat where Tory was sitting? If Kelsey is the shooter, it's right at the defendant's feet. It's there because he's the shooter. We have the firearm evidence, the casings on the scene that matched the gun that was in the car. We have Sean Kelly's testimony. He described a chaotic scene. He heard 4 to 5 gunshots. He saw the female hear the fire's muzzle. He said he thought that Kelsey fired in the car, but that's not true. No, she never saw Sean Kelly never saw anything in her hands, but he saw what the defendants with something in his hands shouting torrent of abuse. Now, I told y'all about torrent of abuse round. Again, I was in court. He did not say that Tory Lanez yelled torrent of abuse. So I don't even know how, maybe I misheard, because I could have sworn he said they were acting in a manner of like torrent of abuse. That's what I recall. I'm a hope Vince is following. You was in court. Did you hear him say Tory yelled torrent of abuse when Sean was actually on the
he
stand?
didn't say. Right, when he was on the stand, I didn't hear him say that Tory said that. I heard him say that that's how he felt it was. It was like that. And I mean, he's British, so they don't see guns like that.
Right. So I'm like, is he going off of what Megan Cunith wrote on her statement? Because that wasn't even correct. Like, that don't even make no sense in any type of the words. Like, Megan Cunith, the lady that was in there, she wrote that down. But you was in court. You heard him testify live. Did he say Tory yelled torrent of abuse?
He did not say that. He didn't say that in court. He said that's what he felt like it was. Like it was a torrent of abuse. He didn't say that Tory said that.
Right. And that's what I'm like, I'm literally sitting in court. I'm like, he did not say that. So the fact that the prosecution got up there and put that on the thing, I'm like, y'all are y'all relying on what the media is reporting? That doesn't even factually make sense. Like, there's literally no way in hell that Tory said torrents of abuse. That makes no sense at all. So the fact that he put that in there, I'm just like, how?
I don't even think they read the record.
No, they're going off of tweets that Megan put out. Megan Cunith.
Right.
She put that out there. Yeah, they're not going off the record because that wasn't true. All right, I'm gonna drop you back down. So they said Sean Kelly never saw anything in her hands, but what he did see was something in the defendant's hands, shouting torrents of abuse. He was really agitated, going crazy. He was the loudest in the group. After he fired the shots, Meg fell. The evidence is against Tory. Okay? He said the gun came with the defendant. The gun didn't come from Meg or Kelsey. Meg testified neither her or Kelsey had a gun. They had bikinis on. Their bikinis can't hold no gun. Never saw Kelsey with a gun or around a gun. Never handled a gun. EJ described Kelsey as warm and never with a gun or violent. He helped pack their bags and he never saw a gun. Does it make sense to bring a gun to Kylie Jenner's house? Well, if you're going to say, does it make sense to bring a gun to Kylie Jenner's house, then, I mean, wouldn't that apply to both parties? But anyways, he said, we have the DNA of the GSR and the evidence of the DNA. He said the defendant was excluded from the magazine, but there was 4 profiles on the actual gun. The defendant being inconclusive does not say that he was not the shooter. That just basically says that it was inconclusive. The night that this happened, it was a cool night. Tory had just got out of the pool with chlorine. He might not have DNA. He said, we heard the testimony of one of the experts, and he said, you may have DNA or you may not. Don't be fooled by arguments from this where they are trying to say his DNA was not on the gun. He said, if somebody has GSR on them, it could spread within 18 feet. So if you shoot the gun and somebody is either the shooter of the gun, or they are near the shooter of the gun, or they come in contact with somebody that shot a gun, then they are able to get GSR on him. He said that's how Kelsey got GSR on her, not because she was the shooter. She had GSR because she was next to Tory when he shot the gun. He said, the gun came with the defendant. We have the Instagram post where somebody says, people say Kelsey shot her, and the verified profile from Tory Lanez Instagram account says that's not true. Okay? He said he can argue Tory didn't post it, and maybe, that could be the case. But do you think somebody with that much knowledge, without that much knowledge, would post that from an account with 12 million followers? Okay? So he was like, listen, maybe Tory Lanez posted it, maybe somebody in his team posted it, but if somebody in his team posted it, why would his team be allowed to post that, if they didn't have the facts from an account that has 12 million followers? He said the direct evidence that we have that proves that Tory did this is because Megan said he did it, Kelsey said he did it, and the witness Sean said he did it. Okay? He said, we have circumstantial evidence, which is the text that Kelsey sent to Justin. We have the bribes, we have the jail call, and we have the apology text to Meg. We have the location of the gun. He said, in the defense opening statements, they said she slept with the baby and other people. He said, what does that have to do with this case? Did they bring that up to shame her? Cut that stuff out and focus on what matters. Does count 1 apply? All the stipulations under count 1 apply, which would make him guilty. He fired a weapon. He knew the gun was in his vehicle. He knew that the gun was there, and he was the person who was in control of the direction of the vehicle. He did it trying to cause bodily injury. And this was definitely great bodily injury because she had to go under amnesia. She had to get surgery on her foot. This isn't some minor situation. That's major. That's major injury. Okay? He said, I feel like he said we're gonna end with Meg. Okay. So Meg said, I feel like I can't even hold a convo with people for a long time. I don't want to talk to my friends. I don't want to talk to my man. And then he continued with her statement. I didn't get to read all of it. And then he said, after hearing this, you must find him guilty. So what was interesting about this is I was sitting next to a white, older, conservative man. I feel like, he was very nice. He was friendly, but I don't think he'd be around like too much hood rat stuff that be going on. And I don't think that he'd be around anything like this. He was stepping in for his news publication. He don't know nothing about Tory. He don't know nothing about Kelsey. He don't know anything about the case. He said, listen, I'm here because I said, I want to know what you think about this. He said, I'm here just to report what I see today. I said, okay, so based on what you see right now, what the prosecution just outlined to you, would you find him guilty? He said, oh, yeah, they were very clear. They were very concise. You know, he said, I've been covering the Weinstein trial, and, you know, they were all over the place with the Weinstein trial. He said this was clear, was concise. He laid out all the facts. He said he's guilty. He said, oh, yeah, he's so guilty. Get him out of there. Throw him out. Throw him out. Lock him up right now. I said, oh, so you think he's guilty? He was like, yeah, totally guilty. Totally guilty. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to ask you that same question after they, you know, present, after the defense present. After the defense got done laying out their stuff, I asked him the same question again. And when I asked him the question after defense got done, I said, so what do you think? Who do you think is guilty? Do you think he still should go to jail? He said, now I don't know. He said, honestly, they made so many good points. He said, the defense made so many good points. I don't think that I would convict him. Now, the reason why I wanted to get his accounting, because number one, he doesn't have a dog in his fight. He's hearing the literal summary of the case. He's hearing from the prosecution, and then he's hearing from the defense. And he literally seen all of the arguments that both sides were presenting. Now, the defense still has certain parts of the argument that he has, but I wanted to get what he thought, because it's a lot of people who look like him on the jury. There's only 2 people on the jury. I thought it was 3 Black people, but it's only 2. The other Black woman is an alternate, so she's not technically a juror. So it's only 2 people who look like us, or 3. I thought it was 4. It's 3. It's a Black guy, a light-skinned Black guy, and a light-skinned Black girl. The 4th Black person is the alternate. My bad, correction. But everybody else, they look like him. There's like an Indian girl, there's like a Latina girl, there's a white lady, there's all these different people. And I wanted to know somebody who ain't got a dog in his fight, somebody who don't know nothing about Meg or Tory, don't know nothing about nothing, looking at what just simply what was presented. No outside bias, no nothing. Simply what was presented. What do you think? And he was like, based off that information, I couldn't say that I would convict. And I was like, interesting. So I'm going to go on over to the defense after we hear from Vince. Even though Vince keep acting like he lost. I think it's your headphones that's giving you this delay. Go ahead.
I can hear you. This is my first live. This is my first live. I'm a little nervous. Well, one thing I wanted to say is when they were talking about how, like, where can they put a gun? They got bikinis on, whatever. If you remember day 3 when Kelsey was on the stand, she literally said, because she made a few things clear. She literally said, I was wearing pajamas, not a bikini. So
she did say that.
The prosecution, that's one of the many things the prosecution was misstating. They were misstating quite a few things, and I was sitting in the stand just like, I don't remember that, or that's definitely not on the record. That's not what's in evidence. That's not what the person stated.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So
you're right. There might be a delay.
Yeah, there is a slight delay. So what else did you point out that they said that wasn't completely true?
What else did I point out? Let me see. From today.
Just from memory.
Come back to me real quick.
Okay. All right. Vince is so lost right now, child. But it's his first live. He's not a YouTuber, but he's been there since day one. So I definitely want to hear from him. So let's start with the defense. Okay. So the defense comes, we basically took a break in between. It was like a 15-minute break before the defense came up. But the prosecution, they did their closing arguments from 142 to 256. So that's how long it took them to do their closing arguments. Now, the defense, when the defense got done, they started 15, it was about 15 minutes after 256. I didn't look at the clock, but we were out closer to 5 after that. So, okay, let's talk about the defense. Y'all said Vince ain't ready. Okay. Okay, so let me see, where was I at? Okay. So he said, I want to start by thanking you for your patience. He said, the defense doesn't have the burden to prove anything, but I did because I want you to see the whole case. The prosecution doesn't come close to proving their case. What is the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt? It's the people's burden to prove their case. The last thing you want to do is put an innocent man behind bars. He only showed you stuff to speculate, but no evidence of it. Meg got shot, and I'm not denying that, but my client is not the shooter. And I will show you that in the next hour. My job is to show you my client is falsely accused. I have been an attorney for 20 years. I have never seen a case where prosecution tried to mislead the jury, but has the audacity to say that's what we're doing. This case was about jealousy. They want you to believe the argument was with Kelsey and my client. The problem was with Kelsey and Meg. Counsel said this was about insulting my client's artistry. Did they call Sean Kelly to testify? The one sober witness that was there? The prosecution never called him to testify. He talked about compromise. Is there any evidence that we had anything to do with Justin not showing up? They're talking about Justin, but where is Jaquan? Jaquan was the driver. Why didn't they call him to testify? Did he even mention Sean Kelly in his opening questions? Are they trying to hide the truth? Sean saw two girls fighting with fist fights for a couple of minutes. Did they tell you it was a fight? Who's being truthful and who's being misleading? Sean called 911, and when he called 911, he says two girls are fighting and a big guy breaks up the case. Then prosecutors tries to say that he wasn't the one to break up the fight. He knew Sean wasn't asked who the shooter was, but he tried to make you believe he was asked. Before he came on here trying to say that Sean only started talking about the girls were the shooter, he already knew that they never asked him that before then. He knew those things. He said Sean Kelly told Officer Diaz that two girls were fighting. He said, did the prosecution tell you who the shooter was? I showed you that they never asked. Stogner was the lead investigator on the case. Did the prosecution call Detective Stogner as a witness? Detective Stogner is the person who did all the interviews. The prosecution did not call Stogner as a witness. Why didn't they call the lead investigator on the case to testify? He said, I'm the one who had to call him. I'm the one who had him come up here. He said Stogner showed that he had called Sean Kelly. And when he said he talked to Sean Kelly, he said 2 girls were fighting. He saw a bigger guy get out and separate 2 girls, and they were still fighting. What would be the question you ask a witness who saw a shooting? You're going to ask a witness who saw a shooting what happened before and after the shots. The prosecutor leads him to say something he saw something. One girl went to the car. Who went back? Kelsey, right? And what did he say when she came back? He heard shots that he thought were fireworks. He said that this when everything was fresh in his mind. He didn't say this like later. He said this right when everything was fresh in his mind. This is what he told the detective. He said a female went to the passenger seat, came back, and that's when he seen shots. This is when it was all fresh. He said, why didn't they call him to testify? Did the prosecution talk about the fight? He wants you to believe Meg, but what did Meg say? He said Meg said she got out the car. What was the real reason she got out the car? She says that my client fired shots. Is Mr. Kelly lying about the fight with the 2 girls? He never said he saw my client also. Do you believe she shot, then my client shot after? You believe that? Like, you believe that Kelsey shot the gun and then my client got the gun and started shooting after? 9 months later, after the prosecution talked to Sean Kelly, then there was all of a sudden all of these additions. He said the relevant facts in the police report do not say any of these things that he suddenly started to add. Okay? He said, you hear the gunshots. So then he played the audio of the gunshots. And then he said, it's 3 shots. Pow, pow, pow. There's a pause. And then it's pow, pow. Why is there a pause? What happened until they started struggling? Isn't it logical that there was a struggle? Or is it logical she shot and then my client shot? What's more logical? That my client was mad because she made comments about his artistry? Or this was a heated situation of a girl discovering that her friend kept backdooring her and finding out that, they were jealous, and it was a jealous situation over a lover that would make her mad enough to shoot. Who had more motive to shoot? Was it my client who was mad over comments about him being a rapper? Or was it the jealous, type of, love triangle? She shot first, then he came out. Why doesn't Quan have GSR on him then? But just my client and Kelsey? Quan don't got GSR on him. But Kelsey and Tory have GSR. He said, what did Meg say happened? Meg is a liar. She lied about everything. She lied to the police. She lied to Gail. She lied all throughout this case for 2 years. Did she say she got in a fight? She said, no, I got out the car and got shot. Sean Kelly didn't know that female nails and hair would be at the scene. Why would all of those things be there when he called 911? He said, why didn't they charge him with beating Kelsey since they like to always add charges, they keep trying to add charges. So why haven't they tried to add charges of Tory beating Kelsey if they really believe that Tory beat Kelsey? They tried to add charges for everything else. So why didn't they add charges for him beating Kelsey since they keep saying that he beat Kelsey? He said, I want you to make the prosecution explain why Megan's testimony is the exact opposite testimony from Sean Kelly, the witness at the house. Why is her testimony so vastly different? I want you to make the prosecution explain that. He said, when it came to the gun situation, was this some type of track meet of where they're playing past the baton? Okay. He said, why did Sean say Kelsey went to the car and came back? So how do you believe anything that Meg says? She told y'all she was ready to go out the car because okay. So then this is where they brought up she lied about EJ. Because in EJ's testimony, EJ was mad that she insinuated that he left her, and that's the reason why she had to get in the car with Tory. She told that in her testimony, which was a flat out lie. Okay? She said the only reason that she left with Tory and the driver was because EJ left her. They said, we heard testimony from EJ. EJ packed the bags and he never left until they both drove off. Do you really believe Meg? Wasn't she upset that Tory was in the pool with Kylie? Meg claimed she only left because EJ left. Okay? That never happened. She lied. Meg claimed first they all left together. She said that, when they left, they all three left together. We heard testimony where they left from Kelsey gave testimony. And when Kelsey gave testimony, she said they left and came back. And then Tory came. We heard testimony from EJ. EJ said they left, came back, and then got Tory. Why did Megan lie and make it seem like Tory left with them the first time and made it seem like EJ left her the reason why she got in the car with Tory? He said Kylie had to throw her out of her house when she went back. Everything she's saying wasn't truthful. She says she started arguing but wasn't involved in the argument. She tried to make it seem like she got in the car, she started arguing, but she didn't have nothing else to do with the argument, and it was only my client that was arguing. We got testimony that they all were arguing. Megan is claiming they started arguing in the back, so that's why she wanted to get out the car, because they were arguing and she had nothing to do with it. Meg said she walked towards the front of the car when she testified, but on her Instagram, she said that she walked towards the back of the car. Now, I didn't hear that testimony, and even though Vince is a little delayed, I want to ask Vince about that part because he was there. Vince, when she got on the stand, did she get on the stand and say that she started walking towards the front of the car and Tory shot her?
Right. It didn't make sense because she said that, but then she said in an Instagram post different about how she walked from the back.
Yeah, but what did she testify in court? What did she testify? Maybe take the headphones off and just listen. Take the headphones off and just listen to the audio from your device. Like unplug them and just listen to it from your device. They said
That work?
reopen. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Okay, leave and come back in.
It's like you're like frozen.
Okay, okay. Okay, I'm gonna tell him to leave and come back in. Okay, child. Vince is real cool. Sorry he not ready, but he need to get it together. But because I really want to hear from him, because he has been there the whole time. He has been there the whole time. Hold on. So let me tell him to click back in. So, anyways, so I wasn't there for Megan's testimony, so I don't know that she factually said that she was going to the front of the car, because on her Instagram post, they're saying that she said that she was walking towards the back of the car, but it was convenient, and she didn't change her testimony that she was walking to the front of the car until she got with her team months later. I wanted him to corroborate that, but we'll just move on. So they said, okay, so this is another thing that they said, because they kept saying, like, Megan was dragged from here to here, or, certain things like that. Like, they were like, she went this way, or she went that way, or she was dragged here, and things like that. When I seen the footage of the body cam footage, it was a lot of blood dripping from her feet. So he was basically trying to set up, he's like, okay, so if all of this stuff happened, wouldn't there be blood trails to show that? They don't even have blood trails that corroborate with what they're saying. He said the blood trails would either be going from the front of the car or the back of the car. They said they didn't, the investigators didn't even have proper evidence markers. The evidence markers where you put them on the street and they're numbered by object 1, 2, 3, 4. He said they folded up index papers to show different things that they found. They didn't even have proper evidence papers. They had piece of papers folded over indicating that this was something here. He said Meg took the oath and lied. She's the only person who heard Tory say dance bitch. We asked Kelsey. Kelsey never heard nobody say dance bitch. When we asked Kelsey about it and we said, did Tory ask Meg dance bitch dance? Kelsey said, who said that? When we asked Sean Kelly, the witness on the scene who heard them arguing, if Tory said dance bitch, he didn't hear that. So why is Meg the only person who heard dance bitch? He says she only came up with that months later to make an excuse as to why she turned her head. Now, when the internet first heard this, right? She said she got out the car and she was walking towards the back of the car, according to them. And she said, he shot her. She shot me. Tory shot me. He said, and from my recollection, when all of that was happening, because Dance Bitch didn't come out till later. When all of this was happening, everybody online was saying, if your back was turned, how do you know who shot you? How do you know who shot you? They didn't say this in court, but I'm just telling you guys what my recollection is. So in court, he says she only came up with the whole dance bitch thing so she can use that as an excuse to tell people the reason she turned around. I said, not him saying that's the only reason why. That's the only reason why she only came up with that excuse to give y'all an excuse, because y'all was saying, how can she see him? And then months later, they came up with an excuse to have a reason for her to look back and see who shot her. She didn't originally say that. You think she heard him say dance bitch with all the fighting and arguing? You think she heard that through all of that commotion? He said they came up with that months later. The theory that my client has been bribing people, why isn't he charged with bribes? If they believe that he has been bribing all of these people with bribery, why does he not have a charge of bribery? Why is he not charged with bribing a witness? On the second interview that Meg talked to the cops, she was on the phone call with her attorneys. She was on the phone call with Rock Nation. And that's how she had to give her statement with her team, Rock Nation, and her attorneys. The story about George Floyd, she never said anything about that when she first talked to officers. She never said anything about a bribe when she talked to officers. After she got with Rock Nation, then she came up with the theory that about this whole George Floyd thing and about the bribes. She told the detective she didn't really know who shot her when she first talked to the detective. She said she didn't want to tell him who shot her because she didn't want to make no false statements. After she talked to prosecution, then she suddenly remembers this bribe. Why is that? Do you recall? Do you really believe he didn't record that? Because the detective said that when he talked to Meg, he didn't record it. It wasn't protocol to record it or anything. So he doesn't have any of that recorded. So the prosecution is like, that's their job to record witness statements. Do you really think that he talked to her and that's truthful, that he really didn't record her? He said she never said nothing about George Floyd until months later or about the bribe. He said she works for Rock Nation. So what's more newsworthy and what would make her look better? Would it make her look good that she had a situation and Kelsey shot her because she was still in her man? Or would it look better that Tory shot her? What's more newsworthy? They want you to think that she was so hurt in these last 2 years, that she was doing so bad. He said she was having number ones on Billboard. It has been a very good year for her. She's winning Grammys. She's number one on Billboard. He said, at the time that this happened, my client was bigger than Meg. She said she had damage to her nerves, and she said that she had nerve damage in her feet. We heard from a doctor get on a stand and testify that Megan didn't have any nerve damage. Why would she lie about nerve damage in her feet when we heard the doctor testify that she didn't have nerve damage? She has people advising her. She has a team. She has lawyers. That's why. They tried to slip in the whole thing about diversion, that my client had a situation with diversion. They tried to slip that in there. But before they slipped that in there, they knew that my client diversion ended in 2017. They knew that he wasn't on probation. They knew that the diversion ended 2 months after he got entered into a diversion and his case was complete in 2017. They knew before they insinuated that he was on diversion that that had nothing to do with this case. He's not on probation. She claimed for 2 years online, on Gail. She claimed for 2 years that she never had sex with my client. She claimed that they never had any type of intimacy. She only told the truth on the stand because we were providing witnesses to prove that they had a sexual relationship. she didn't tell the truth, and she only told the truth at court when we provided proof that we had witnesses that was going to testify. Or he didn't say to testify, but he said that we had witnesses that was going to prove that she did. Then all of a sudden she tell the truth after she been lying for 2 years. He says she has an image to protect. She's Megan Thee Stallion. How would it look if Megan Thee Stallion... Hold on, wait. Oh, hold on 1 second. Oh, I want you to come on.
I just send you a message. How do we do it?
Click the link.
You want to come on now?
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Oh, sorry about that. He said, how would it look if it came out that Meg Thee Stallion was cheating with her friend's man? That's why they're trying to blame my client. Who's the person who came to testify with an attorney? He said, who's the person who came to testify with an attorney? Kelsey is the one who came with an attorney. He said, they want you to think that Kelsey this whole time was this comforting friend. She was so concerned about Megan. She wanted to make sure Megan was okay. Why did Kelsey immediately get an attorney? He said, Kelsey has had several attorneys throughout this case. She's had a lot of them. Who walked into court with an attorney? Kelsey. You guys seen Kelsey with her attorney. Every time that she was asked the questions, they had to go and deliberate in the chambers, and then she came back. He said, I want you to look at the judge. No. He said, oh, because this one, it was starting to get good, child. It was already like, He said, Kelsey has use immunity. And he described to us what use immunity was. He said, there's 2 different types of immunity. You have use immunity and you had transactional immunity. With use immunity, it means that if you testify, anything that you say today in court or throughout the court proceedings, we can't use that against you to charge you, but we can still charge you for crimes that you committed. We just can't use what you said as to why you committed it or admitting to commit it, but we can still charge you for the crimes and we can still prove our case outside of your testimony. He said, if they thought, and they were so sure, like they said in their closing arguments, that she was this comforting friend and she was so concerned about her friend and she just was this loving friend and she didn't have anything to do with it, why didn't they give her total transactional immunity? If she'd had nothing to do with what happened to her friend, why didn't they give her transactional immunity? She was just a loving friend. He said, look at the judge. I want you to look at the judge. You think the judge was going to allow her to get immunity and invoke her Fifth Amendment if she didn't have any culpability in this incident? We are looking at the judge. I looked directly at the judge. And the judge was like it was very subtle, but he was like basically like, yep. Did you see that? Unmute your mic.
Girl, I didn't even know you was speaking.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hey, did you see that when he said, look at the judge? Would the judge allow her to invoke her Fifth Amendment if she didn't have any culpability? Did y'all look at the judge?
I did see that. He did kind of look like, well, there it is.
So these are two. Can y'all turn the camera on or no?
No, girl, I didn't listen.
Okay. So we have two attorneys. These are two attorneys who have been sitting in on the case. They don't have the camera on, but just talk about that moment when the defense was like, look at the judge. Look at him. You think he gonna allow her to get immunity if she didn't have nothing, no type of culpability, trying to allow her to invoke her Fifth Amendment? Describe what y'all seen.
Well, when that happened, I definitely saw how he was looking like, yeah, that's what it is, because of course he wouldn't allow that if he knew that it wasn't necessary. I'm not, I wish I could have been in the back room when they discussed it with the judge, but of course we weren't permitted that type of disclosure. But man, oh man, do I wish I knew what they were discussing back there, because I would love to.
How the judge looked, he was like, right? Like, I'm like, what?
Yeah, I definitely saw that. It was very intriguing, him even mentioning that. And
then I was looking at the jury. Did you look at the jurors when he said that? They were like,
no, actually, I didn't see the jurors' faces. Did you?
I did not see the jurors' faces at that time. I did look at the jurors when they kept, when the defense kept pointing to the judge and telling them to like look. So you can see the jurors were engaged with the defense attorney. However, I don't remember how they looked at that exact moment.
Okay. So he said, I'm gonna bring y'all down. I'm gonna bring y'all back up. Okay. So he said, Kelsey is the one with the attorneys. He said, Kelsey is the one, that came, with the attorneys, blah, blah. Do you think the judge would have allowed her to plead the Fifth and invoke her a Fifth Amendment and get immunity if she didn't have nothing to do with this? He said, they trying to make y'all believe that Kelsey wanted to come here and just free her mind, and she just wanted to get this off of her, and she just wanted to be free of this. He said, that's not true. Kelsey has been dodging the prosecution for 2 years. She won't even answer their phone calls. You know when she finally answered their phone call? She only came up here after they told her they had a witness that she was the one who fired the shot and that she had GSR on her. That's when she offered up her testimony to the prosecution 2 years later, when it was revealed that she also had GSR. He said she dodged prosecution for 2 years. That's when she came to court. I said, well, what y'all got to say about that part? Turn the camera back on.
Look, you saw what I had it on.
Turn it back on.
Okay, so check this out. When he said that, I was like, you know what? That does make sense, because I was curious as to what could have caused her to change her mind about coming forward. Because it had been 2 years had already passed and she had not said anything. And then all of a sudden now you're available to speak. I didn't quite understand that.
Right. But then when he laid it out like that, he was like, she didn't come here because she just wanted to clear her mind 2 years later. She came after it was reported that we got a witness and she had gunshot residue on her. That's when she offered up that testimony.
What does it mean when she says she wanted to free herself? That was another question I had.
Right. And before this, because I didn't get y'all before I start talking about the defense. Now, before I go any further, when the prosecution first gave their facts of the case and they laid out things that would make Tory look guilty.
Right.
What did you say you observed in the bathroom, and what was the chatter around the prosecution when the defense hadn't started talking?
Prior to the defense speaking, what did I witness in the bathroom?
Wasn't it you that went to the bathroom and the girl with the clog said?
No.
Oh, that was
Okay, so that was me. Sorry, I got to turn the camera off.
Okay.
So what I heard were two young ladies who at first I believed they were more open for Tory. However, when they heard the prosecution go, the way that the prosecution laid out the evidence, they then said, okay, I didn't hear it like that. And it was so many, bits and pieces coming from different media sources. At this rate, I do see he's going to go to jail. He deserves to go to jail. And that was before
Did
That
you
was
hear? Did you ask them what they thought?
I did not, because they were just talking to each other. So I just wanted to be like a fly on the wall. So I just took in the information and left it at that.
Okay. So I didn't ask them what they thought, but the one girl with the one,
Yeah. Okay.
the one, okay.
Yeah.
She picked up her stuff from the ground and she was like, wow. As she was picking up her stuff, she was like, wow, that was interesting. And then she left out. So I'm trying to figure out what that means. When you just said that he was never gonna go to jail.
And she was asking, you know,
Right.
about the whole Kelsey doing it from what I recall.
Yeah, but that part, when she was leaving out, she was like, wow.
Because the defense attorney, I will say, so far in what he's done, he has done a good job of closing holes that you may not have realized were open or needed to be closed. The defense did do a good job in his closing of like trying to go through and plug this stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
That's what everybody has been left with thus far.
Right. Okay. All right. So let's see. Okay, so he said that she only start coming to testify once she found out that GSR was on her. And so that's when she volunteered information. I'm gonna bring y'all back up in a second. He said if she was such this loving, concerned friend that they're trying to like make her be, why did she get so many lawyers? He said, you know who changed their story? Sean Kelly. He said, Sean Kelly changed his story after they talked to him 9 months later. But why didn't the prosecution never call him? Who's the people who did not even mention Sean Kelly in their opening statements? They had the audacity to say that my client made Kelsey change her story. I asked Kelsey, did you fight Meg? She claims, maybe, I might have bumped her. This is the witness they want you to rely on? Somebody that says, maybe, I might have bumped her. We really relying on a witness who was drunk and passed out, and then she woke up and she started drinking some more? That's who we're relying on? And not Sean Kelly, the witness that was there, that was sober, that seen what happened? We relying on the drunk girl that was drinking, drunk, passed out, and then woke up, but the prosecution didn't call the sober witness? He said, they want us to rely on that? Like, are they even credible? He said, Meg is lying. She didn't forget that she didn't leave with Tory. She denied backdooring her friend. She denied that Tory Lanez and Kelsey's triangle was what the fight was about. My client said in that car that he slept with both of them. Who had motive to shoot? She said she has bruises and hair missing. And they didn't even tell you guys about the fight, you know. He said, my client is 5'2". He said, my client is 5'2". Do you think he could reach over? What they say on this part, child? What did he say? Unmute your mic.
Do you think that he could have reached over that car at his height? And I thought that was hilarious. Everybody thought that was hilarious.
It was like, we in the courtroom, we was like, what?
What is going on, sir? What is going on? That was crazy. But you know what? It gave us a good little laugh. It lightened it up a little bit in the courtroom because stuff got real serious.
He said, my client is 5'2". I don't even think he can reach over the thing.
Yeah.
And we all was like,
Yeah, Tory had to take that one for the team.
he just had to take one for the team at that point because I was like, did he really just say that?
It did.
Anything so far that I missed that you want to fill in?
Well, you know what? I will say this. As far as, you know, the defense attorney and his closing, I do feel that he did a good job in, you know, bringing back in all the other evidence that the prosecution tried to quash. But I do also feel as though like he pick and chose when he wanted to give credit to a witness, right? So in one breath, like, this witness was credible for these facts. And then he'll come back and say, well, for those facts, that witness was not credible. And it's like, well, is the witness credible or is the witness not credible? You can't pick and choose which part of the testimony is credible and not credible. Either they're credible or they're not. You know,
it's true.
That kind of caught me off guard too, because that stuck with me. Because in one breath he would be saying, yeah, this witness, when they gave this testimony was truthful, and I like this part of the testimony because it helped my client. But then when he started talking about this part of the testimony that didn't help my client, he ain't trustworthy, he's not credible, don't listen to him. And it's like, it don't work like that, sir.
Right. Anything else?
I mean, in particular, I don't know. Do you have anything else that kind of stood out to you?
I think so. The black woman argument that he touched on really briefly, where he seemed to make it seem that it's more logical that two quote unquote ex-best friends will be willing to shoot one another over like some community peen. However, it's unreasonable to believe that Tory would have shot them or shot Meg, because they were talking about his artistry and like they were going back and forth. So it's like, well, why are we just supposed to believe that black women will do X, Y, Z and really shoot when, as far as I know, the women don't have a history of, you know, using guns or shooting people, things of that nature.
And they do have a history of sharing peen. So it's
they've been friends still.
So if it's never come between their friendship previously, how is it that in this one?
Don't you think that after some point there would be a final straw? Like, damn, you done did this shit again?
I don't know, because Kelsey said she had somebody at the time that she was talking to as well. So I don't believe that she was too concerned about Tory Lanez, and she didn't care that he wanted to stay with Kylie. You know, so it's like she didn't seem too bothered to me about this particular individual. It just, this was something good.
If she wasn't bothered, why was she arguing with Meg in the car?
I can't call it because we don't even know. Megan didn't mention it. Kelsey didn't mention it. The only person that mentioned it was Tory's defense team.
I don't feel like she's just arguing with her for nothing.
I don't know.
I mean, is it possible that they weren't arguing, or it was just arguing about the facts, and it wasn't, you weren't so mad that you decided to try and shoot someone?
Like does it rise to that level?
Very unreasonable to me.
But mind you, they're very, 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 very loaded.
This is facts.
That is 1,000% correct. However, even when I don't know how loaded they were, but I mean,
everybody's a different kind of drunk.
Exactly.
And they describe the different type of drunks.
1,000%.
They said Megan's an aggressive drunk.
And Kelsey is still like more
a bunch of bark.
A bark, no bite. However, I don't know if Kelsey was still as drunk, because they said she was drinking. She had several hours to sleep it off, and then was able to come back and join the party.
But then she started back drinking again.
Right.
Yes, she did. She did.
Mm-hmm. But however, was she still so drunk at that point?
But you know, certain things will sober you up quick. Like if you've been drunk before, you know that there are certain things that happen that have you like super alert. You know what I'm saying? However, like a shooting, that definitely will sober somebody up quick, I could imagine. But as far as, you know, their actions that took place that got them to that level, I can't speak to that because it was so much confusion about those facts. And there was so much discrepancy between the different witnesses that came forward regarding that particular fact about the women fighting. You know, yes,
that all of them were beating Meg up, the driver, Tory, and Kelsey all at the same time beating Megan up.
If I'm gonna just speculate. To me, it would seem as though I don't believe that the driver would have been fighting on Megan. I think if anything, he probably would have been trying to make everybody kind of part ways in a sense, like kind of jump in and like move everybody from one another, if anything, because I know that his loyalty is to Tory first and foremost. And then secondly, he wouldn't want his guy, his friend, whatever, I don't know, their friends, his like his employer, whatever, he wouldn't want him getting caught up in no mess. So he probably would just be trying to diffuse the situation, if anything. And as far as Tory and Kelsey jumping on,
I don't believe that they all were beating her up.
I don't see the reason as to why the driver would be beating her up. And I saw the driver and he was big as hell.
He was a big old something. I was looking at the headlight. I said, that's the driver?
Right, like, so you need to be security. But it's like
more like security than anything. He bigger than any. You see Tory? Do you see Tory's security that Tory shows up with now?
He's smaller than the driver.
He's small.
Yeah. That's how
Tory's security that he got now that he been showing up to court with he ain't got nothing on the size of this guy. And this guy, he came in the court and he was.
Facts.
I'm like, this big old dude, like the way he came in, he was supposed to been beating up Megan too, and she ain't never had no bruises or nothing.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Right. This dude, he came up in the court and he walked in and he was
right. I don't believe that big man put his hands on her. If anything, he probably was trying to defuse the situation, make everybody
and just pulling people off,
pulling people apart. You know what I'm saying? Trying to defuse it. Like, hey guys, we gotta pull it together. Because when Kelly did take the stand, he did say that the big guy said the police is coming. So everybody kind of get it together. We gotta tighten this up.
And then he said he thought they was going to throw her in the river.
That, you know what? He watched a lot of movies. Must be. He must watch a lot of movies. I don't know. He's not from the hood, so he must watch a lot of movies. He didn't live in the so he's around a lot of people probably and just like, I don't know what to do.
I don't know what
he's scared about his child and you know, and I mean with good reason, because you got a small child, people are shooting, you know, you have heard stories of people getting shot from shootouts from outside. Like I said, he probably watched a lot of movies. And he was like, nope, I'm going to make sure me and mine are safe. So first quarter, that's what he was concerned about. But I do think he probably watches a lot of movies. And I can't
keep going back to he watch a lot of movies. Because
what else could it be?
They was about to throw her in the river.
Right. I'm sure he's never seen anybody actually thrown into the river. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you have to put yourself in the shoes of this Caucasian gentleman, right? So he's this British guy. He hears all this commotion. He, sees fight or like see a bunch of, Black people all together congregating. He hears gunshots. He's like, okay, they all of a sudden picked her up. Like, I thought they were going to dispose of the body. So that is likely what he thought. Now,
it sounds scary as hell, though.
Right. And, you also are trying to think about your 8-year-old son, making sure he's safe. So, I think his mind could have started racing like a movie, as most people's would.
And in my understanding, like, he was getting emotional, even recounting everything that happened that night. So just even going back into that trauma thought, it's like, oh my gosh, because that's where he was.
That's when he wanted to emphasize. And he was like, just hearing back, like, I just want you guys to know, like, in this moment, I was trying to secure my son. I was trying to make sure my son got on the ground. So then I was like, okay, well, if you trying to get your son on the ground, how could you then also be what's going on?
Right. Like, he couldn't have been paying too much attention to what was going on outside, trying to secure what's inside of his household, which absolutely makes sense. And I don't blame him for that, because I think any parent would take the same position.
Mm-hmm. Somebody in the comments said, how tall do you think the driver looked? It wasn't more so like he's super, super, super tall. He was like a big, like, brolicky, like football player type of dude.
Very much so.
I would guess he's probably, because I'm kind of good with height, I would guess he's like 6'5" maybe. Because he's tall and he's big. He looks like he really could be a football player, like a defense. Yeah,
he looked like a football player, like a big, brolicky.
Huge.
Mm-hmm.
I could not believe that was him when he was walking through there. He marching back. I was like,
yeah.
That was in a fight.
Right. I was waiting for him to take the stand. I was ready for that.
Oh, we all were.
Tell him about the energy in the courtroom when we found out that he was who he was.
everyone was
Yes.
like, "Oh my gosh, that's him.
That's him. That's him.
That's him."
When is he
Like,
coming out?
right. Like, when is he about to come out? Everyone wanted to, all the reporters wanted to go outside and report on it. They know they had to go downstairs because they couldn't use the phone in the lobby. But it was just like everyone was ready to go and say something about it because this is breaking news. We had been waiting for his account. He was the fourth person in that space when it all occurred. And he's the only one we hadn't heard from outside of Tory. No one's heard from Tory because, of course, he didn't take the stand. But, you know, we heard from Megan, we heard from Kelsey, and he was the only other party that we had not heard from.
Who was in the car? So
Who was in the car? I thought he was in
Canada.
Canada. Listen.
Right. So then we all sitting there for an hour twiddling our fingers, waiting. Like, oh, the defense go out, the prosecution go out. I'm like, okay.
I just knew he was coming to take the stand.
What are we gonna hear?
Oh, it was so disappointing when they were like, no.
Tell them about the energy when the judge said, "Are you guys calling any more witnesses?" And they said, "No further witnesses."
Everyone was like, dang, that's it. So where Quan went? Like, what happened to Quan? Well, you know, I thought he was going to say something. He came ready, dressed. You know what I'm saying?
He was just for the nines.
But it's my understanding he came with no legal representation either. And so I take it they didn't want to allow him to take the stand because you're not going to be protected. You have no legal representation. No one's look out for your best interest. And Tory's attorney is always going to look out for Tory's best interest. You know what I'm saying? So
I don't feel like the prosecution would care about what his best interests are. They're the ones who wanted this thing delayed.
I heard they were trying to delay it till after the holidays.
Right. So Tory, obviously, you know, the prosecution not thinking, oh, he doesn't have a lawyer. We were trying to look out for his best interest. They wouldn't be thinking that. They don't give a damn. They just want to know, like, what can prove their case.
I don't think the prosecution would have wanted to bring him on anyway, if I'm honest with you.
That's why they was like, nah, we about to smoke y'all out. We don't want him.
Yeah, I don't think the prosecution would have wanted him anyway, because if I'm honest, I think that they would have thought that his affinity would have been to Tory anyhow, and he would have somehow at the last minute screwed up their entire case.
Mm-hmm.
And they needed all the help that they can get because they were struggling for many parts of the entire trial.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the closing arguments, the defense kept pointing to he was the driver. Why didn't the prosecution subpoena him to testify?
Right.
Why didn't they make him testify? They only made the only person that they made to testify was Justin, but they didn't want to get Jaquan, who was in the car. Right. They didn't want to subpoena Jaquan, but they wanted Kelsey's bodyguard to come up here.
I understand that completely, because that was a question we all had at the very beginning. Because it's like, this is the person that was there. Why do we need to know about people who weren't even there at the function, who weren't even there when everything took place? We need to talk to the individuals that were on scene. And this Justin person, Edison or whatever his last name is, I don't know how much he could have added to the conversation outside of the text messages, which they already had access to. So I don't know, because I don't even think he came onto the scene. I think T. Ferris, they said, came onto the scene after the fact. So
he came to get Megan's belongings from Tory, and Tory supposedly confessed that he was apologetic that he did this. That was supposedly Justin's testimony, but that's why when they couldn't get Justin on the stand, that's why they tried to insinuate, oh, well, he's not here because Tory must have bribed him.
They've been insinuating that a lot. According to them, prosecution, Tory has bribed everyone.
Yeah.
Goodness. Like, how much money do you have, sir? Because like, bribing all these people cannot be cheap. And your legal team, like, you really coming out the pocket with it.
Yeah, so they said he paid for that person to go and this person to go, but they couldn't say Justin never showed because the Jaquan was there.
Right.
But y'all didn't want to interview Jaquan. Y'all needed all this time to prepare to talk to a witness that y'all planned on talking, that y'all should have already been prepared if he showed up to talk to.
QTNA, questions that need answers. Questions that need.
So in the closing argument, I'm gonna finish up real soon. It was like one more page that he basically testified. He said in the jail call, the prosecution wants you to believe that Tory is apologizing for shooting Meg. He's like, that's not what he's apologizing for. he's apologizing for basically blowing up the spot between the friends and dropping the ball that he was sleeping with both of them. He said Kelsey wasn't this loving friend who went to the hospital because she cared about her friend. He said Kelsey only went to the hospital because the ride that she had, that was her only ride to pick her up out of jail, was headed in that direction. And Jilly was going to the hospital, so Kelsey had to tag along. She didn't go there because she wanted to. She went there because her ride was going there.
So I have something to say about that, though. It was my understanding that when they picked up Kelsey from the jail, they went to the house. And so Chelsea can change and everything like that. So if Kelsey truly didn't care, she wouldn't have taken that ride to the hospital unless the young lady was like, well, you can't stay at my house. But she didn't mind giving her clothes in her home to change in and everything like that. So I don't know. That part right there, I kind of was just like, I don't know. Maybe he thought everybody forgot that part.
Well, that it had been 2 weeks,
Right.
Almost 2 weeks.
It's easy.
He wasn't apologizing for shooting her. He was apologizing for disclosing that he slept with both of them. He says Tory said he was going to get backlash when he was on the jail call. He wasn't saying that he was going to get backlash because he shot Megan. He was saying that he was going to get backlash and this was going to be blamed on him because Kelsey was already released. They were all already released. He's the one that was still in jail. So that's why he was going to get backlash. He said the prosecution tried to make you think that Tory was trying to get them to be quiet because TMZ showed the footage of them at the scene. He said, so you mean to tell me from 3 a.m. to in the morning, they had already went to the apartment complex where they retrieved the footage from to put it online, and they had already put it up there before Kelsey talked to Tory, and then that's the reason why Tory was concerned in making them be quiet? He said they claimed that the LV bag was unisex, and we know whose bag was it? Kelsey's or Meg's bag? I think he said it was.
I thought that was Kelsey's bag, but I don't.
Kelsey's bag, right?
I don't know.
Because I thought he said Meg for 1 second, and I thought he said it was Kelsey's bag.
Like I said, it's easy
I wrote Kelsey's bag on here.
When all this time has gone by, we've heard so many different people speak. So at this time, I don't remember who EJ said that bag belonged to.
Yeah, I wrote down on my paper that it was Kelsey's bag, but I could stand corrected on that because he said that part kind of fast. Whose bag it belonged to? He said it in court today, but he said it kind of fast.
He did say it was Kelsey's bag today, though.
Oh, okay, that's what I wrote down on my paper.
They said as far as whose bag it was.
Okay, because that's what I wrote down. I wrote down he said Kelsey's.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Okay, cool. All right, so I was making sure I was right. All right, so he was like, when they talked about this Louis Vuitton bag, they tried to act like it was a unisex bag, like it was, a bag for both sexes. He said this was Kelsey's bag, and it was her stuff. It wasn't no man's stuff in that bag. He said, when I talked to the officers and I asked them if the bag was open once they got to the scene, he said they never would answer me. They never would tell me if the bag was open when they got to the scene. He said the officers tried to come up here and act like they're neutral. They're trying to act like they are for both parties. He said these are officers who are supposed to be trained to look at the scene. He says Deputy or Officer Cabral, who was in charge of Kelsey, was in super close proximity to Tory. It is their job to not only observe Kelsey, but also observe Tory as well, because in the midst, they could slip and say something that incriminates them in this whole matter. So you mean to tell me that she could never recall Tory's demeanor? She testified that she didn't know his demeanor. She didn't hear that Tory also asked Meg, was she okay? But anytime the prosecution asked her a question, she had an answer for it. And then when we asked her a question, She didn't remember. She couldn't recall. Even when we showed her the transcript, she couldn't remember. She couldn't recall. He said, but they so-called didn't know my client demeanor. He said, you think that the officers was being truthful? He said, these are supposed to be neutral investigators. Even the investigator on this case was acting the same way. He said, whenever I would ask a question, she didn't know. I would show her the transcripts. I would have her read the transcripts. She didn't know. But anytime the prosecution asked her a question, she knew the answer right away. She said, you think that's a neutral witness? Anytime they asked her a question, she knew right away. Anytime I asked her a question, she couldn't recall. Even when I provide her transcripts and have her read it and look at it, she still didn't know. And that's something that I noticed. Did I tell y'all that? Or I don't know if I brought that up to y'all, but that's something that I myself.
Interesting witness, because she was probably one of the prosecution's most, I want to say, loyal witnesses, because yeah, she wasn't having that. You know, I feel that they had a very combative exchange when she was on the stand. And that was a little unfortunate, because I do feel that it made her look like she wasn't a neutral party. However, I do feel as though he was very abrasive with her too, which could have caused her reaction.
Abrasive with her because she wasn't answering. She was acting like she didn't know. And even when he gave her the paper, she was still acting like she didn't know.
Well, for that, I think because the way he wanted her to answer the question, she would not answer it. She was answering things very meticulously. Right. Like, so if it was a nuance, that was her answer. That was a response. So he wanted her to say, well, didn't it say shot right here? Or didn't it say line right here? It's like, well, no, that didn't say line right there. That said misled or something like that. So that was a bit of the exchange. Also, I did kind of want to.
Well, no, because he was asking her what the line said, and she was like acting like she didn't see what was on the line. She was acting like she totally didn't see what was on the line.
Committed to memory. I didn't commit it to memory.
And yeah, which line are you?
Like, he would show her the line, he would have her read the line, and then he would say, so was this in the line? And she was like, I don't remember the lyric. You took the lyric. He showed her the lyric again. She read the lyric, and then he took the lyric back and said, so did it say that in the lyric that you just read? I don't remember the lyric. She wasn't asking her to make up something that wasn't there. He asked her what was there, and she read it and would act like she didn't see it, or she didn't recall when she literally just read it.
What I will say is that as far as that exchange goes, I recall it specifically, and I feel as though she got confused in the way that he was asking, because even when he asked her the question, she said, no, it's not saying that she's lying about something in particular, but it was like whatever that particular thing was, it was as if he was trying to, it's as if she received it as if he was trying to say that it applied to both lines in which she called her a liar. And she was saying, no, it only applies to maybe one of those lines, but it doesn't apply to both. And that's his point too. So they were saying the same thing, but there was like a lot of confusion there, which would cause a lot of that combative back and forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, when I heard it, I was like, every time they bounced back to the prosecution, she was clear. She would have had no confusion. And when he asked her stuff, she was totally confused. That's what I recall before he even brought this up. I was like,
but you know what? Why wouldn't he put it on the projector so she can actually just see it with everybody? It's as if he didn't want to put it on the projector.
He didn't want her to read it out loud. He didn't want.
Yeah, I remember.
I know why. He didn't want her to read it out loud. He just wanted her, like, do it say more times. Was hush money or no, was Megan lying mentioned more than once?
Right.
And
it was mentioned twice.
And he didn't want her to say what the line was.
Right.
But he was like, look at this line and look at that line. Did they mention that she lied more than once? I don't remember. That's what I remember, how I remember it went.
That's exactly how it went. I mean, there are some nuances in that, but even still, that's essentially the gist of it.
Yeah. So he said that, and then he implied that the investigators were not neutral, the prosecution wasn't neutral, and then it was almost 5:00 at that point, and the judge
it's time to go.
It's time to go. We'll pick this back up.
Yeah. I think that, every witness that took the stand, you can tell that there was some level of loyalty or bias for each person or each team that brought them up, right? So I honestly feel that way about Kelsey's testimony. I feel that whenever she went up, whenever a defense team asked her questions, she answered willingly, openly. He could rephrase a question, she would answer it. Once prosecution got up, she was very adamant. Like I remember one time in particular, she turned to the judge and says, you know, do I have to answer these questions? I don't know why she keep asking me these questions. And I was like, wow, you know, I've never seen a witness handle an attorney in that manner in the middle of a trial, you know, in the middle of an examination. And I thought to myself, you know, why aren't they treating her like a hostile witness, first of all? Because obviously she didn't want to answer the questions in the manner in which she's supposed to. When you're asking questions from a direct examination, you're supposed to allow your witness to narrate, right? And when you're doing cross-examination, you're allowed to do leading questions where you ask direct yes or no questions. She was the prosecution's witness, from my understanding. And so she was supposed to be able to narrate. And it's like, she didn't want to talk about anything. And whenever question, she didn't remember. She don't know. She wanted to sip her water. She wanted to plead the fifth. She wanted to talk to her attorney, literally trying to interrupt every line of questioning that they would impose on her. And I thought to myself, damn, why is she so receptive to the defense team questioning, but she's not receptive to prosecution when they're not trying to harm you, while defense the whole time is trying to say you're the one who shot this young lady.
Who else had that type of testimony?
Say again?
Who else had that type of testimony?
Well, I would say the little lady.
Yeah, the
I would say
investigator.
little. That's funny. The little lady. Her last name was Little. So Miss Little.
And she was actually little in real life.
Hilarious, right? So I think that her testimony would exemplify that exact same interaction. Like I feel as though she kept that same energy that Kelsey kept, where anytime that the defense asked her a question, she wanted to be sure to answer it exact. And she wanted to make sure that she didn't give him any wiggle room, right? As opposed to the prosecution, she was very open to their line of questioning. But I don't know if it's because, once again, they're basically on the same team. She works for the LAPD, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
You can correct me if I'm wrong. So basically, she works for
she's their investigator, right?
Right.
For
I believe
LAPD,
so.
yes.
I do believe so. So, you know, I didn't get to see Mr. Kelly's regretfully, I didn't get to see his testimony.
Yeah,
And
I believe y'all didn't come yesterday.
yeah, right. So, right. I thought that same thing. Like, why it had to be him? Why it had to be him that day?
He was coming the next day. Why y'all didn't come?
You know what? I needed a mental health day.
Agreed.
We needed a mental health day because it was a lot. It's been a lot. This trial.
Have been at the trial for the entire almost the 2 weeks.
Absolutely. And so a lot of it has been trying on the spirit. Okay. So we had to take the day, but I was glad that we were able to come in today and watch some of the closing. I do believe
back tomorrow.
I do believe so. You know, I got some work to do. I still got clients that's expected to hear from me, but you know, I will do what I can. If I'm not there in the morning, I will damn sure be there in the afternoon after lunch.
Oh, okay. So, because both ladies that you guys hear from are practicing attorneys, which is dope. But they have been there since you both got there day 1.
I got there day 3.
I got there day 2.
Okay. So overall, can you just run us through? Because I got there day 6, I think. I think I got there day 6. Yeah, I got there day 6 because it started Monday, ended Friday, and I got there this Monday. So I got there day 6. Can you walk us through the testimonies and some of the vibes that you got? Day 2 was Megan?
Okay, so no, but the day I got there, Kelsey started. So was that day 3?
I think that was day 3. Yeah.
I think Megan did the morning on day 2, and Kelsey did the afternoon. Is my understanding.
Because I thought no, she came a totally different day than Megan.
Okay, so I was there when Kelsey started.
Okay, Kelsey was there for 2 days. I came Kelsey's second day of testimony.
Okay.
So, I mean,
from the transcript that you heard of Megan's testimony, what was your thoughts? When it came to her, I don't remembers and I don't knows also.
If I'm completely honest, I think Megan did herself a disservice.
I think her team also did her a disservice.
Absolutely. By not instructing her to just be completely frank. because at this point we here for your trial. We here to take this man down that, allegedly shot you. Like, let's get it all out on the table. We here already. You know what I'm saying? There's no need to hold back. So I thought that she did herself a disservice not being honest with a lot of the facts that they questioned her about. And they're using all that against her. And that in itself is giving the jury reasonable doubt as to whether or not Megan is being truthful at all, because basically the defense attorney's closing sat on the fact that, Megan's a liar. Megan's been lying. Can we believe anything that she says? Yes, they want to stand on the fact that she got shot, because there is no disputing that at this point, right? However, every fact that took place with regard to her interaction with Kelsey that night, her interaction with Kylie and Tory Lanez that night, her interaction with EJ that night, it's as if all of that is it's a lot of discrepancy in everyone's testimony.
Like, if she knows that they left and came back, why wouldn't she just say that and say, I left and came back? Why did she say, oh, we all left with Tory? That's when we all left.
I have no idea, because it's not as if, you didn't have an opportunity to recall all those events in these 2.5 years, however long it's really been, right? You had time to kind of reflect on those facts before you sat down in trial and gave testimony. And I don't know if she just felt as though, like, well, that's my story, I'm sticking to it, but I don't believe that helped her in any manner in this case, because now, again, defense attorneys are sitting on that and trying to discredit everything and saying that nothing she's saying is truthful. Can the jury truth?
And what was the instruction? What was the jury instruction? If you have enough,
basically, if you have to believe that they're lying, throw out the whole testimony.
Repeat it, because I think it went out. Go ahead.
Basically, it said that if you have reason to believe that they lied about anything, you can throw out the entire testimony. And that's dangerous, because in that testimony,
it was, because they said two things. If you hear them testify and you think some of the stuff they say they lying about, and some of the stuff they say in the truth, that is the truth, throw out the part that they was lying about and take the part that was true.
If you believe it's true.
The part that you believe is true, take that. But the part you think they lying about, don't listen to that part. But if they say a significant amount of lies, if their lies are significant, then throw away the whole thing.
Right. And the way he framed it is if her lies were significant throughout her testimony.
Right, but when you
so he said she's lied so much, you got to throw away the whole testimony. We can't have Meg's testimony at all. She lied about everything. She's been lying for 2 years.
And we only got testimony of 2 people that were present, her and Kelsey. So if you got to throw out Megan's testimony.
And he's telling you to throw out Kelsey's.
And telling you to throw out Kelsey's, because Kelsey is not even telling the truth, because she changed up her whole story and said she was lying from the start. I mean, what do you have then? You only have Tory's account. And though Tory didn't take the stand, they're there to represent his account.
So do you believe that enough has been proven that he, without a shadow of a doubt, shot the gun?
Do I believe that? Yes. Not without a shadow of a doubt. There is some doubt there. I would say because of Kelly's account of the events that happened that night, when they're continually trying to paint the picture of the events that occurred and what everyone's role was, it gets confusing, right? But I still do believe the facts are the facts. And the facts are that Kelly also said that he saw most of the shots coming from Tory Lanez. And when I heard the gunshots myself today, because there was a lot of discrepancy with regard to whether or not there were pauses between the shots, and after having the criminalists come in and talk about the gun and how you need 8.5 pounds of pressure to shoot the gun, and then you had to relieve the gun trigger, and you had to pull it again, 8.5 pounds of pressure, and relieve it again in order for it to shoot, where it cannot be a situation where it's accidental shooting, and that all of the shots came from Tory, from Kelly's account. I mean, to me, it seems like Tory did it. But it's unfortunate because there are going to be a lot of holes still that are unanswered, especially now since all of the witness testimony is done. What do you think?
I also believe that there's enough evidence to show that Tory is guilty when you go with like both the direct and the circumstantial evidence, right? Like even the main fact was Megan said that Tory shot her. If you threw out everything else, that fact still holds true. One, his the recording where he is apologizing, it doesn't sound like he's apologizing for like blowing up the spot. It just doesn't seem plausible to me. And like, who's gonna know that their call is being recorded in jail and say, man, I'm sorry I shot you, I shot Megan, I'm sorry I beat you up. Like, come on, that just isn't reasonable either. But with the gun release and
But what he said was also, he said Tory knew that the call was being recorded. If he was trying to cop a plea to that, why would he say anything?
But why would, you know, just what he was saying though, and Kelsey's also on that call, because she also wasn't really trying to say anything. And it goes back to, if she had just shot Megan, why did she leave the manager's house and then go to the hospital and stay outside when, if Megan wanted to say, oh, Kelsey shot me, you're standing outside the hospital. The police can easily come and get you. So those things just don't add up to me, and they never have.
And so I know your role is to remain neutral, but I am curious, do you have a position considering all of the evidence?
Oh, I don't have to remain neutral. I give my opinion all the time. I give my opinion all the time. I honestly, in my honest heart of hearts, I like at first, I was going back and forth, and I was like, did Kelsey shoot her? Did Tory shoot her? Like, who was the shooter? Like, who really shot her? And I think Tory shot her. However, I don't think that they have enough without a shadow of a doubt proof to prove it. I think that there's too many holes and there's too many theories about it. I don't believe the theory that he got so mad just because she said he was a whack rapper. Like, oh, you're a whack rapper. So then she just gets out the car and he starts shooting her. That don't make sense to me. So then you go to the theory of Kelsey, Meg, and Tory, and this whole love triangle gets heated, and he drops the bombshell. She gets kicked out of Kylie's house because she goes back to get Tory.
Right. Well,
Kelsey stays in the car. She goes back to get Tory because he's there, and then he comes to the car after Kylie kicked them out her damn house.
Right.
She had already said a slick comment to Kylie. She told Kylie she thought she was lame. After Tory, who she had been waiting on, who she was happy to see, because when he came, she was twerking in the driveway as he was coming in, and Corey Campbell was leaving. Then when he got in, he flirting with Kylie to the point where she like, Kylie, I thought you was lame. Tory didn't want to leave with her. She come back, say she going to get her slippers. And when they come back, Kylie kick her out.
The both of them.
And then they get in the car and they're driving off. I believe the bombshell was said in that car. I believe. So then that points me to the love triangle.
Right.
And although I do believe that Tory shot her, how can you prove that he really did? Because I feel like in that instance, I'm a nigga. I have both of y'all, like, and like y'all talking mess, but I was able to sleep with both of y'all. Like, what can you say? You saying my music is whack, but I was just fucking you, and I was just fucking her too.
Right.
Like I'm whack, but you was just fucking me. That's
like that is winning, right? Tory's winning, because it's like I didn't had everybody.
Yeah, like I was just in the pool with Kylie in my drawers. So I know how niggas, like, and again, I wasn't there, but just knowing nigga mentality.
Right.
I don't think that it was, oh, you're a whack rapper. If I'm a whack rapper, why was you giving this whack rapper coochie?
Talk about it. Right.
Behind your friend back going on trips.
Talk about it.
So then, even though I think that he, got mad and, was probably one a shot, I don't think that they can prove without a shadow of a doubt that he was the shooter, because if you point back to the who had more motive, it would seem like Kelsey would have more motive to shoot her, because why would a guy who I just fucked both of y'all. You saying I'm a whack rapper, so I'm so mad after I just was fucking both of y'all that I shot you because you said I was a whack rapper. Who would have more motive in that situation? The best friend who you betraying, you going behind her back, you keep messing with her dudes.
Well, I will hope that it's never that serious.
And especially if it quote unquote has happened before. So like, why would Tory all of a sudden be the different one and make
like the straw that broke the camel's back? Where it's like, again, it was not like Kelsey was without. You know what I'm saying? It's not like she was doing bad where she couldn't get men. She said she had when she had him on the phone the whole time to hear what was going on because she felt unsafe. So I don't feel that her animosity towards Megan was enough or heightened enough to make her feel that she wants to shoot the young lady. Like me, that's just so unrealistic. And me being a woman and knowing how that go, it's like it could never be that serious to where you feel.
Why was it so serious for them to be fighting? Do you believe that they were actually fighting?
I think they could have possibly had words, and then let's say for a moment they all of a sudden both start talking about Tory, about how, you know, whack he may be in whatever areas. If he's been drinking too, so he's, you know, quite intoxicated, is it possible that, you know, they know how to hit below his belt and he snapped?
I mean, there's a lot of different possibilities, right? But
what do you think about the witness saying that Kelsey shot first, or the muzzle went off close to her?
Okay, so my opinion about that is this. When he said that Kelsey shot because he saw the bright light go off near her, right? She had never at no point stated that she wasn't near Tory when he made the first shot. When he made the first two shots is what she said. Like the first few shots when he shot, like she was near him because like she was getting out of the car and she said he jumped over the console and jumped into the front seat. So it's like when she's saying that he did that, she's saying she was near him. So when Mr. Kelly is, you know, viewing it from his balcony, right, and still paying attention to what's happening inside of his home, trying to secure his child and ensure the safety of his child, I feel that he probably looked up and did see a bright light come off next to Kelsey, but no one ever stated that she wasn't near Tory when it happened. And that's probably, again, why she got the gunshot residue on her, because as we heard in testimony, it can go up to 18 feet. It's a powder that kind of disperses and it goes up to 18 feet. If she's near him, that could be plausible as to how she got that gunshot residue on her, right? And then when she stated that she went to try to protect Megan because she thought that Tory was going to continually harm Megan, it's like that interaction with them, you know, fighting, it made it more plausible, right? And then when I think they also said that Kelly said that she went back to the car, that corroborates her testimony in that interview in September when she told them, the prosecutors, that she went back to the car to try to jerk the car to get his attention, and she said it worked because he went to the car after she went and jerked the car. So it's like like I said, it's a lot of holes because of course we weren't there and we don't have the account from Quan, and Mr. Kelly was a little distracted and Tory's not taking the stand, and Megan's testimony is a bit flawed and Kelsey's testimony is
a bit flawed.
I want to call it more than that because she's completely said that she lied during the interview. So it's like, even though you were under oath in both instances, you're choosing that instance in which you told more facts that you were completely lying. I'm confused about it. And now 3 months later, you don't recall any of it. I'm confused about that, you know? And so that's why it made sense for prosecution to go towards, well, it had to be witness tampering, witness intimidation, because I mean, 3 months passed and you don't recall a thing. But then she did say that she was going through personal things. And I know all too well what that's like, you know, because I recently had a death in my family and I know how distracting that was for me. But I don't know that it would have caused me to forget events that I recalled 3 months ago that happened 2 years ago, you know? So
and even when that forgetting, it was only when the prosecution was asking questions. Right. It was, you know, a intact memory for the defense.
So, you know.
So I want to mention something that I heard today, right? So the guy that I was talking about, who and I'm not sure if y'all was on yet, but I was talking to this man and he was sitting next to me and he told me that when after the prosecution had gave their testimony, he was like, "Oh, he's guilty for sure. They laid out the facts. They were concise, you know. He's guilty. Throw him away, lock him up, throw him in jail." After the defense, he was like, I don't know. Like, I can't say that I would convict him after hearing all of the they made a lot of good points. Like that made a lot of sense to me, you know? And this was his first day there. Like, he don't know nothing about Tory, he don't know nothing about Megan. His company sent him in to just cover only today because the girl couldn't come today. So he just was there to jot down what he heard today. But
Right.
just hearing the prosecution and the defense lay out the case, he was like, I can't say that I would convict him. But that's not why I brought it up. I just wanted to refresh y'all. I'll just bring that up for y'all.
Yeah.
He had been sitting in on the Weinstein case. So what he told me was, he was like, he said, this went smooth to me. He said, I've been on the Weinstein case and they would just drag and drag and drag throughout the closing arguments, and they would just drag and drag and drag. And when it came to the jurors, he said the jury would always get hung up because of the women. I was like, huh? I was like, it's women recounting their stories, or, you know, about how they were abused. He said the women would never believe them.
Yep.
He said anytime there was a hung jury in the Weinstein case, it wasn't because of the men. It was because the women were listening to these women and they didn't believe them. So I listened to that as he was saying that, and I was looking at how many women was on the thing.
Right.
And I was like, I wonder how that would play out in this situation, because outside, because he was like, he said, I've been working on the Weinstein case, and he was like, it's always the women that hang it up.
One
They
thing,
don't believe the women.
two things for sure. Okay, that defense attorney has a presence about him, and it's captivating, right? When he opens his mouth to speak, you want to hear what he's about to say. And I saw jurors really peer in when he started speaking.
I seen a lot of facial expressions.
I did too.
Nodding their head in agreement before the
I
man
saw
even really start
smiling.
saying anything.
I saw smile like smirks. Okay,
I
Like-
seen.
you got to say right,
Yeah.
right.
Even, did y'all see the white lady? Even the white lady was like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
you seen the white lady? She
That's-
was like,
Did you see what?
yeah.
See her
Like,
smile.
she was like, as he was saying something, she was like, oh yeah, like I could hear her saying, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I saw a few
Like,
jurors.
even though she didn't say that, but
Right.
like her like when she was listening, and the boy that y'all said pay attention to, he was really was really into it.
Yes, he was. And I mean, from day one, from my day one, at least, at the very least, from my day one, he's been that way.
Taking
with the defense
notes,
attorney.
very astute.
And so, you know, I mean, we're about to see
I've
something.
seen a lot of facial expressions when the
Right.
defense was, and it wasn't like bad facial. It was like, we're engaged and we're
Yes.
listening, and this like it was like head nods and agreeing. Like, it was.
And you saw the wheels in their head turning like, oh shoot, yeah, that makes complete sense. Or, you know, like I said, these are the parts of the testimony in which I feel that prosecution left open. And so the defense came in and filled those holes, right? And when they fill those holes for those jurors, the jurors seem to be lining up with them more, because it's like, okay, well, at least you're giving me a full picture. You know, they're more inclined to side with them, because at least with you, I feel that I'm getting truthfulness, is genuine, because I'm getting the full picture. As with prosecution, it probably felt like, I don't know about you, because there's still holes.
Like, I don't remember it said like that. I don't remember, because they was even saying stuff, and I was like, they're doing the same thing. Like, y'all doing the same thing. Y'all trying to
Yeah.
use them of.
So I know what you mean, and I get it. And like I said, I feel as though if you're just looking at the facts, not even concerning yourself with courtroom decorum and reasonable doubt and things of that nature, having to actually prove something, because it's one thing to be guilty in the court of law, and it's actually a different thing to be actually guilty. You know what I'm saying? Like, to have said, like, this person done it, they did this thing, versus you can prove it in court. That's two separate things. So I hope that even in the event that, you know, Tory does get off, because I feel that there's a high likelihood of that. And I hope that I don't want to say I hope that I'm wrong, but I feel that there's a high likelihood of that, right? I hope that people still recognize the fact that Megan still was victimized.
Mhm.
So
Like,
what do you think the probability is that he will get a guilty verdict?
what do I think? Like, if I give you a percentage or something?
Mm-hmm.
Shoot. How many women you said was on the jury?
I don't know how many women. I will say it. I didn't
At
count
least
with
4.
But aside from what the guy said about the Weinstein thing, you don't think that they would side with a woman?
I don't.
No.
And so I've been counting how many Black people are on the jury. So it's 4 Black people, 8.
No, the Black lady is the alternate. They said somebody told me that she was the alternate.
I'm not gonna lie, that lady be asleep most of the time anyway. So fine, that's fine.
I swear she was up there, and it was one day where I was like, "Dang, I don't feel like I should be staring," but I leaned in and I was like,
"Let me see your eyes, ma'am. Let me see."
Is she asleep?
I did that one time too. My eyesight is quite poor, but I sure was trying to look in myself like, ma'am.
I was like, is this lady asleep? I believe somebody told me that she was the alternate, but I was like, she's sitting in the juror spot, so I don't know.
Was a juror because even when that other was sitting outside of the jury box, she didn't sit inside until they gave her a position.
Right, because they had 3 alternates at first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so maybe that's why.
I think she is a juror. I think the person who told me that wasn't truthful. Because you're right, the alternate was sitting outside the jury box, and then when they excused that juror, the white lady, got up and got in that seat.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Now, I haven't counted them to see, what's the number inside of the box to compare, but I guess I just assumed she was an alternate because she was outside of the box.
Right. Well, regardless, I think it's more likely than not he will be found not guilty.
I mean, because this is what it is, right? Nobody really wants to be responsible for convicting a Black man for 21 years or 22 years, up to 22 years, where he would have to be away from his child. He's probably the big breadwinner in his family who takes care of everyone. So they're going to take away that resource for his entire family. And then they're going to deport him to Canada. I mean, it just sounds really bad. But then you have to also think, this is a woman who got shot. This is a woman who has to live with these scars for the rest of her life.
Why is she lying about it, though?
Well, she's not lying about being shot, though. She's not
lying about that, but why is she lying about everything else?
Ancillary facts, right? But maybe because in her mind, they're ancillary facts. Maybe in her mind, those facts shouldn't play a role in the facts being the facts of him shooting her, right? I think that she thought that she would be exonerated in public opinion once it came out that he actually shot her, but it didn't work like that, because what ended up happening was the defense team decided to bring in facts about who she's sleeping with, who she's been intimate with, and all these other things, and talking about the other things that she chose not to be truthful about, forthcoming about, right? And so it's distracting them from what the actual crime that we're in court for. And the crime we're in court for is for Tory shooting Megan. And the facts of the matter are that she got shot, and both her and Kelsey said it was Tory.
Dom said, with the evidence that was given in the testimony, y'all still saying Tory did it when the evidence is inconclusive. The only evidence that's inconclusive is the gun. That's the only thing that's inconclusive. Okay, there's other things that point to Tory doing it than that. However, even though I think that he shot her, I don't know that they have proven that it's absolutely was him and not Kelsey.
And I'll say this as well. Prosecution did a really good job in bringing up the fact that Tory was in a chlorine pool for multiple hours without going to wash his hands, because they got kicked out directly from the pool, right? So when Megan went back to get her slipper or get Tory, whatever she went back to go get. So when they got kicked out, he jumped out of the pool. He had been in the pool for multiple hours. That would have been enough to basically get rid of the DNA on his hands. And so him touching the weapon following that, it's not unlikely that he wouldn't leave any DNA. I mean, can you imagine, you ever put your hand in chlorine and see what it does to your hand? And imagine for a multitude of hours you were in the pool. Like, I don't even know how many hours he was in the pool, because the event took place in the wee morning of the hours. Like, it was like 4 a.m, I think, or something along those lines, between 2 and 4 a.m. when everything went down. They left Kylie's house. So he got there, they said, at like 9 p.m. So if he got there at 9 p.m., you in the pool till 2 a.m., I mean, you in the pool for a lot of hours with chlorine. Yes, the chlorine is diluted in the water. However, I have had a pool, and I know.
I don't think that they did they say that they were in there from 9 to 2?
They said they got in the pool when Tory got there. They got back in the pool when Tory got there, when EJ gave his testimony.
I know, but they never got out.
They didn't say that they did. EJ didn't say that they did, because even when Megan and EJ and Kelsey had supposedly left, when they came back, they had left Tory in the pool with Kylie. And when they came back, Megan came back with Kelsey and the driver. She went to go get her shoes and came back out with Tory. So,
Somebody said, what evidence says he shot her other than Megan?
Kelsey, Kelly, a few things. So again, it wasn't just Megan's testimony that gave us
okay, so Megan is a part, and she would fall under the jury instruction, right? Where he told them that if they told a significant amount of lies, they would have to throw out their entire testimony.
Well, then Kelsey would too.
So that's what I'm saying.
But then we still have the neighbor, Kelly.
Right. And he said one thing when the defense talked to him, and then he said a totally different thing when prosecution talked to him. When the defense talked to him, they said, who shot first? The girl did. Who was in the car? Who was out the car? The girl was out the car, and my client and Tory was in the car, and then he got out the car after the shot. When he talked to the prosecution, he said, who shot? He said, Tory. He said, were they all out of the car? Yes. So when he talked to prosecution, everybody was out of the car, and then the gunshot started. But then when he talked to the defense, only the girl was out of the car, and that kept like going back and forth. And I'm like, which one is it?
So even if you take that out too, then we're left with the Instagram post where people were stating that Kelsey shot Megan, and someone from Tory or Tory's, verified Instagram page said, no, that's not true. So even going by that account, Tory said that it wasn't Kelsey, and we know Megan didn't shoot herself.
And there are only two who had gunshot residue. And yes, that's circumstantial evidence, but circumstantial evidence can suffice. For those of you that don't know.
I don't know. I want to hear from some of y'all. I'm gonna stay live for 5 more minutes. That's it. They said, was y'all really in the court? Yes, they was in the court.
That's hilarious.
Were y'all in the court? Then you would know.
Yes. They were most definitely in the court, because child, they be keeping me entertained. We most definitely. Oh yes, I'm still on. Alex, Alfonso's coming. He want to come all. Oops. He want to come all late after we went through everything. He could have responded to the wrong tweet or meant that it's not true. That's what people were saying, because he knew people pointing fingers at him.
I mean, people are going to want to create the stories that feel fitting to them, and I'm not here to argue ideas or any hypothetical situations that people have created. I'm only here to talk about what was said in the courtroom and my own opinion about what was gathered. So, I mean, if you guys feel that, then that's fine. But from my opinion and what I've gathered from being in the courtroom again, and listening to all the witness testimony in the courtroom. So, because again, you guys got a lot of different reports that were given on the media, and a lot of different reports were contradictory. They didn't match up if you listen to the different people that were in there. So, of course, everyone is speaking from their perspective, right? And so this is mine.
All right. So, one of the counts was
the assault,
that he was unlawfully carrying a firearm in a vehicle, right? That was one of the counts.
Yes.
But they didn't prove that it was his gun, because it wasn't registered.
Right. They stipulated to the fact that it wasn't registered. That's correct.
And they made sure that was on the record, that it wasn't registered. The gun wasn't registered to anybody.
Right.
So what do you think about that charge? Unlawfully carrying a firearm in a vehicle that they did not prove that it was his gun.
Well, that count said either in the vehicle or under his control. So they're saying Quan is under Tory's control, quote unquote, as his employee, and the gun was in that vehicle.
And it was under Tory's seat because he was in the
front.
I
didn't hear the under his control part.
And it was under Tory's seat where he was sitting in the front seat when the gun was found by the police officers.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Teflon Don, he sat in for half of the testimony of the witness. He didn't hear the whole testimony, but he heard half of the testimony.
Hey, welcome.
Question.
I was there yesterday in the courtroom. But no, I'm confused because we know the witness also said that he seen Kelsey, the flash come from Kelsey first, but yet we still saying Tory did it. I think we got to get our emotions out of it and just listen to straight evidence for real. My man had. We also know that I also handle firearms. I also work around chlorine, so I know what it can do and stuff like that. I also know when you fire a gun and you transfer it or somebody takes it from you, gunshot residue can be passed like that. So if the witness said Kelsey, they seen the flash come from Kelsey first, and then he seen Tory shooting it, and then he said Tory was shooting it violently, but the motions he was making, it was like in the air and stuff like that, or all around. That's not violently. Violently is pointed at somebody. So we don't know. The evidence is still inconclusive. Then you got testimony, Kelsey saying that Tory didn't do it, and and when the incident happened, they saying Tory did it. Kelsey Kelsey asking for immunity. Why would you ask for immunity when you're a witness? Something ain't adding up. Motive. And look at any criminal investigation or whatever, they always look for motive. It don't look like Tory have a motive. The person who would have more motive would be Kelsey. Somebody, your best friend is going behind your back. She slept with 3, 4, 5 different men that you was messing with. and then she just finding out about this with a little liquid courage. We know alcohol can get people acting rowdy. And we know how, and I'm guessing how they act, how this whole situation just ghetto as fuck. But we know how they acting. We know how Meg was acting at the homegirl house. That's why they got kicked out. They popping off. I'm just saying Kelsey would probably have more motive to shoot Meg. Or maybe she didn't even shoot. Maybe she didn't mean to shoot. And what I was saying was maybe they was both fighting over the gun. It just went off like that. So we just don't know. We just don't know. I keep hearing bias. You either on Tory's side or Meg's side. And I think it's unfair for both parties, honestly. We just need to go with the facts of the case and deal with it like that. And get our biases out. Get our misandry and misogyny out of the picture for real.
Well, I'll say this: there was no accidental shooting. There was testimony from an expert who testified that you had to put 8.5 pounds of pressure on the trigger and you had to release it intentionally and then pull it again. So I'm just going to leave that there.
When I'm saying accidental, I mean both of them fighting over the gun. Well, obviously it's not accident, but both of them fighting over the gun. So obviously somebody's hand is in the trigger well when it shouldn't be. But again, Tory doesn't have a motive to shoot Meg. He doesn't smash. He smashed both of them. Okay, you can pop your shit off. Oh, I'm a whack rapper, whatever. But I fucked both of y'all.
Well, I'll say
both of y'all.
I'll say one more thing. Megan didn't have any gunshot residue, so she wasn't near.
They didn't
test Megan though.
They didn't test her. They did not test Megan.
Okay.
If they would, and I will say this, and this is what I told Nick, LAPD did a shitty job. They really did a shitty ass job. And honestly, we should be blamed.
What do you make of them not asking who the shooter was that night? And when they retrieved the gun, it was a hot gun.
Right.
So
LAPD did a crappy ass job.
What's your opinion?
Agreed. I think LAPD it was definitely holes, especially from people who I thought were high investigators, like the one Stogner. And because LAPD didn't follow up on key things, this is why so many people have questions about certain things, and you have to use your own interpretation to plug in these gaps. So yeah, that's what we are.
If Tory, and don't get me wrong, when this story first came out, I'm like, Tory a buster if he did this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But then Meg just wasn't acting like a victim, yo. She just was not acting like a victim that's been violated. She was acting aggressive. She was coming off aggressive. And I also have a problem when she got a gag order on him where she can pop her shit off and say
all right,
he
so
was
many
this
curse
man.
words. We ain't had all these curse words.
Oh, my bad. I apologize. She can pop her stuff off and he can't. I don't like when people can just say stuff about people and they can't defend themselves. And whether guilty or not guilty. It almost makes the person look suspicious for real.
Okay, so two things. I'm not really certain as to what a victim is supposed to act like, because I will tell you from a position of being a Black woman, period. We don't like to look weak. And in our community, if you're crying and carrying on, you look weak.
I think that's a male perspective. I think women, I don't think they, from a male perspective, yes, you
Right.
look cry, but not from a woman. A woman cries, we know that's real.
I'm a woman, I'm telling you. So, and then on top of that, as far as, Megan putting a gag order on Tory, is because he had started speaking on it first. Because initially she had not chosen to press charges. She didn't press charges. And when she had the first investigation done, or when Stogner interviewed her first, since you were there yesterday, you would know, he stated that when he first interviewed her, she stated she didn't want to point any fingers, essentially. She didn't want accuse anyone, falsely accuse anyone.
She said she didn't want to falsely accuse someone, but yet she on the internet accusing someone. And who could falsely accusing? She could have thought he did it, and it probably was.
At that time, Tory never said nothing at that time.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. She got the gag order after she came out.
She named him as the shooter. She got mad because blogs were reporting facts of the case that she was sleeping with Tory behind her back. Those things was coming out, so she knew that it came from either Tory or Kelsey. That's what made her mad, because she kept trying to act like, I'm the innocent one. I was such a good friend. I didn't do no wrong. And then blogs started reporting that they had exclusive information that this was over Tory's Meg sleeping with Tory. And for me, I'm like, huh? Kelsey slept with him first? The blogs is lying. They making that up. And that's what triggered her, because she felt like, oh, one of y'all is telling stuff to the blogs. They hadn't publicly said nothing on their pages, but facts that turned out to be true later was said to blogs.
Okay. Well, as it has been stated, I believe Megan and her team, like, they handled things wrong in the beginning because the lies have come back. They are biting her. However, that doesn't change the fact that if, she pointed out to someone, said, this person shot me. Kelsey also said it reluctantly. Tory also said in his Instagram post that Kelsey did not shoot Megan. Like, that's the main thing. Like, I mean, it's a lot of other, white noise and fodder. But if we just kind of just stick to, the main question was, did the girl get shot? Who shot her?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but Tory also said he didn't shoot the girl either. We come on, man.
Okay, so
we
today,
one-sided.
Elimination,
right?
Right, because we're not gonna pretend like Megan shot herself.
Right. No, I'm just saying. But again, we don't know that because gunshot residue, the GSR test wasn't done on her.
So you think Megan shot herself? Come on.
No, I'm not. I'm saying if they was fighting over a gun with the witness, or they was fighting and flashes came from Kelsey and from between two girls with the witness seen and said in court, we don't know.
Well, not even Tory and his team is saying that Megan shot herself.
Right.
Not even Kelsey saying that Megan shot herself.
I'm saying
we can X that out, right?
Y'all just be saying anything in the comments. Somebody said you are biased. I said I think Tory shot her, but I don't think they could prove it. How biased? How?
That same understanding with you.
We
all said the same thing. So I don't know.
Like, how is that bias? Because if you, without a shadow of a doubt, think one way or another, you're biased too.
Right.
I hate when people say that a person is biased because they don't have the same thinking as them and they've drawn a line in the sand. Now, if you truly have not drawn a line in the sand and you are leaving this up for interpretation and you still kind of like, I really don't know, like, I'm gonna just wait, whatever, then that person is not biased. But anybody who has definitively drawn a line in the sand is biased. If you 100% think this way and you 100% think that way, then you are biased. When I go to court, I'm listening.
Right.
And I'm like, well, that sounds like it's true, but can they prove it?
Right.
I can understand the point that they made there, even though I think Tory did it. Like, that sounds like more motive to me.
Okay, and also
on both sides where I'm listening to it and I'm like, okay, this sound right, this don't sound right. This sound right, this don't sound right. Period.
yeah, and also we was talking about fingerprints and DNA being transferred. And guns being wiped down. If Tory was to wipe the gun down, he can't just wipe his own fingerprints off. He got to wipe more. He wipes all fingerprints off the gun. So we got to use logic, y'all. We got to use logic, yo.
Well, tell me where we haven't.
Again, we still accusing Tory when his DNA is not even on the gun. And yes, DNA, if you wash your hands and your hands are still damp or wet and stuff like that, your DNA possibly can't be transferred. Yes, but this is probably...
Right. We're going to pause this real quick. We're going to pause this because I feel like y'all been going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We're going to introduce Street TV, who was also in the court. You've been there since day one, right?
That's correct. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. So
Thank you.
Hey.
Alex has been there. See, we've
Hello.
been there since day one. Alex done been there from day numero uno. Since you have been there since day one, and you have not only, because the attorneys have listened to a lot of litigation also, but you have sit in on a lot of court trials as well. Jumping on in, you ain't heard our spiel because you just now see my thing.
I just heard the gentleman say his DNA is not on his hand, and that's actually inaccurate. It's inconclusive. So you can't say that the DNA is present, and you can't say that the DNA is not present. So if you say the DNA is not on his hands, technically that's incorrect.
No, I'm not saying it like that, bro. I'm saying after, because the prosecutor argued that, who argued that the DNA or being in a pool, or it was the prosecutor who asked the DNA expert, can DNA be transferred after the pool and stuff like that, and they said it was pretty much it's hard.
Yeah, but I was just talking about something else that you said. But yeah, I've been in there since day one. It's been a fascinating trial. It's like a roller coaster, ups and downs. Sometimes I'm like, the prosecution scored one here, and then I'm like, oh wow, the defense came back here, and then I'm like, oh wow, the prosecution came back with another one, and then I'm like, oh wow, this defense attorney went in, and that's how it's been since last Monday, and where we at now? Was it Wednesday? So yeah, day 8. This is 8 days since opening statements. So it's been very, very entertaining, very interesting. But again, we got to think about a man's freedom is on the line. So I don't always want to just say this is entertainment, because this guy can end up going to prison for 10, 15. I don't know what his full exposure is, because there's also
22 years, I believe.
22 years. Okay, so that ain't nothing to laugh about. So yeah, we'll see.
All right, so give us a quick summary of, I'm gonna bring you back up in a second, Dom. Give us a quick summary of today, like when you first got there and heard the prosecution's arguments, when you heard what the defense had to say, what did that leave you with, and what did you think after that?
Well, I thought the prosecution did a decent job. He focused on, I think the strongest evidence that he had, and he did a lot of focusing on it, is the apology text, and the apology text that he sent to Megan, and the apology call that he made from jail to Kelsey. And I think those were his two strongest points that he had. A lot of other things he said, I was like, oh, that's kind of weak. That's not that strong. That's not that powerful. To rely on Megan's testimony as the truth is definitely not a way to go. And I think he did the best he can with what he had. You got to remember, he was not expecting Kelsey Harris to do a 180, because in opening statements, he said, I'm going to have 3 people tell you that Tory shot Megan. He said Megan's going to say it, Kelsey's going to say it, and Justin's going to say it. And so far, 3 people did not come and say it. And that's why you're hearing this new theory that he put in his closing arguments, the single witness testimony. That's something completely new, because in the opening statements, he said, I'm going to have 3 people say it. And now he's changing his argument to a single witness, a single person witness. So, I was like, wow, I'm sure the jury's like, hey, you said 3 people were going to come here and say it, but only one person did.
In his testimony, he said he tried to answer why Justin didn't come. He was like, I told you Justin was going to come, but where is he? He probably took a bribe.
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember that these closing arguments are not really evidence, so they're allowed to kind of, get a little bit loosey-goosey with the terminology. There's no evidence that there's a bribe,
Okay, so when we got to when you heard that part, how strong did you feel like Tory might get found guilty from that closing argument?
Well, when you say get found guilty, you got to remember there's 3 charges here. So each charge is going to get treated differently, So are you talking about just all 3 of them, guilty or not guilty, or are we going to take each charge one at a time?
Go through each charge, or we could just be in general.
Well, I think you got to look at each charge separately, because some charges are more probable than other charges, and I'm sure the jury's going to say that. Like, for example, the first count is assault with a firearm, right? Mm-hmm. The second count is possession of a gun, and then the third count was the new count, which was negligent discharging of a firearm.
Okay, so it was assault with a semi-automatic pistol, shooting a firearm in a grossly negligent manner, and then the other one was unlawfully carrying a firearm in a vehicle, or I think they said under your control.
Correct, but you said it in a different order. I wrote
it down how he said it. He first said assault with a semi-automatic pistol, then he said shooting a firearm in a grossly negligent manner, and then he said unlawfully fire. This how I wrote it down.
Yeah, but the second one that you said, that's count 3. That's the new. Remember when the trial first started, they decided to add a brand new charge that didn't exist prior?
Oh, we wasn't there on day one. Enlighten us.
Oh, okay. Well, the shooting the gun in a negligent manner, I'm not saying it the proper way. That's a brand new charge. That just came last Monday.
And that's why the defense said, well, since they like to add these charges all of a sudden,
yeah,
adding all these charges all of a sudden, why didn't they charge Tory for beating Kelsey, and why didn't they charge him for bribing?
Well, that was a great point.
Tell the jury that we heard the judge say that he wasn't going to charge him with that.
Yeah, the what was it? Bribery and what was the other one? Tampering with witness. Right? Yeah. So the fact that they charged Tory with the negligent shooting of a firearm at the last minute should tell us a few things, right? Like maybe they realize, we might not find him guilty on the assault with firearm because that's a deliberate act. And they probably knew what the defense's theory was going to be, that he may have grabbed the gun and maybe some shots were fired during the grab. Maybe they can nab him on shooting a gun negligently. That's probably what their thinking was. So yeah, that's count 3. Then that was a brand new count.
And they said they made sure to stipulate that the gun was not registered to anybody. So unlawfully carrying a firearm in your vehicle, like, do you think that they can prove that it was his gun at this point still?
See, on that charge, I would say that's a not guilty all the way. I think that's the easiest not guilty, because you got to prove that he did something with that gun in the car or out the car, and I don't think they can prove that.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't think Kelly's testimony was sufficient to prove that he was handling the weapon?
But if he was handling the weapon, it may not have been done in a reason to shoot at Kelsey. The defense is going to say if he handled the weapon, he was trying to grab it to stop her from shooting and to prevent further shooting.
Okay.
So if they could argue that, I think it's a weak charge. So I think that's a not guilty. I think that's an easy call. The what is it called again? Illegal possession.
Unlawfully carrying a firearm in a vehicle or under your control, I guess.
Yeah, and we don't know who's been carrying that gun. We don't know if Quan is carrying that gun. We don't even know if that gun came from the luggage of Kelsey and Megan. We really don't know how the gun got in the car, who was handling the gun. We just know that there's 4 DNA profiles on that gun, and it's inconclusive.
Right.
I think that's enough for not guilty on that charge.
So when you go to assault with a semi-automatic pistol.
Well, that depends on whose theory you believe in. That can go either way.
Shooting a firearm in a grossly negligent way that could result in death or serious bodily injury.
Well, if he's found guilty on count 1, and he probably can be found guilty on count 3. Those are the 2 you just said. So if he's guilty on 1, he's going to be guilty on 1 and 3. He can be not guilty on 1 and guilty on 3. Count 3. So there could be. I'm just saying there's a possibility of a mixed verdict. Is all I'm saying.
Say that again.
There's a possibility of a mixed verdict, meaning he might be found guilty on one charge and not guilty on another.
Okay. So the more serious charge, they're all serious charges, but the shooting with a firearm and the grossly negligent one, the ones that he may be found guilty or not guilty on, which way do you feel as you listen to the testimony?
I think that charge, they probably have more evidence for that charge than the other 2 charges. If you believe, you got to believe some of the testimony, though. There's some testimony that you might not believe, but out of all the evidence, I would say that charge, they probably have the best chance of getting a guilty verdict.
On which charge?
The count 3, which is the second one you read.
Shooting a firearm in a grossly negligent manner?
That's if you believe that he grabbed the gun from Kelsey and maybe shot it. I mean, the way that the testimony came in, the guy was saying that he was waving his arm around shooting. If you believe that, then that count might apply.
Okay, so what do you say to him saying that the flash went off closer to Kelsey and Kelsey shot first and then Tory shot after?
Man, I don't even know if that's possible because they've been playing the audio of the gunshots in court. And if you listen to the audio, it's pretty fast. There is a slight pause between the 3rd shot and the 4th shot, but it sounds as if all those shots are coming from one continuous shooter.
Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it don't sound like enough time has passed.
But I can see someone that maybe doesn't understand shooting so much might think that slight pause could have been a second shooter, but I don't think it's possible. It's just the shots are going too fast for it to be a second shooter.
Okay. So listening to just overall Megan's testimony that they discredited so much, right? When you were in court and Megan was testifying, did she seem like she was withholding information on purpose, or like what was the demeanor? Because they discredited her a lot.
Yeah, you could definitely tell that she was dancing around some of the answers on cross-examination, especially when asked about, did you have a fight with Kelsey? You could tell she wasn't being 100% truthful. Also about which direction did you walk when you got out the car? If she walked towards the front of the car, then there's no conflict with Kelsey. Kelsey's in the back seat. So if she's claiming she just got out the car and started walking forward towards the front of the car and then got shot. But that's probably not possible because you got into an altercation with Kelsey. So that means you had to walk to the back where Kelsey was at. Then you walked forward. She denies that she walked forward at all. She also denied that there was a second trip to Kylie Jenner's house. You know, they left, came back, and then left again. According to her, they all left. And that didn't happen. We learned that from EJ.
And EJ both said that that wasn't true.
And we already knew that wasn't true before EJ testified. So he just kind of just put the icing on the cake.
Right. So about other parts that he said she lied about, he said that she claimed that she had nerve damage in her feet, and the doctor testified that she had no nerve damage that was lost in her foot.
You know, I don't remember what she said about nerve damage. I might have missed that one.
Yeah, I didn't recall that part of the testimony either, if I'm honest. When the defense attorney mentioned it today, it was the first time that I heard it.
I actually, when I heard the defense attorney say that, I was saying to myself, "Man, I don't remember that part."
Did the doctor testify though to that?
Yeah, the doctor testified that there was no nerve damage, and I even think Megan said that she made a recovery, a pretty good recovery.
I think maybe that could have been her Instagram post. Let me try to pull up her Instagram.
I think that came from something that happened outside of court, like something she said on the internet, a post. But that definitely did not. She did not say that in court. I'm almost certain. And how do you say your name? Lobi Saint?
Yes.
And you said you pretty much you don't recall that ever being said in court either, right?
I think it might have been the Instagram post. Let me read it.
Yeah, I think it was a claim that she said somewhere else.
Okay, hold on. Let me pull it up on the screen for everybody. I don't know if it's in this post or not, but I'm gonna just put it on the screen and we're gonna see. Hold on one second. Let me make mine the primary for a second, and then I'm gonna bring y'all back up. We're gonna read it together because I think that might have been where they got it from. Again, we're about to learn in real time and see. This is the post that she posted up, and let's see what she says. She says, LOL, what I have learned about majority of people on social media is y'all like to hear bad news before good news. A lie spread quicker than the truth, and y'all really believe in that ish y'all make up. I got the hit in the back of my feet because when I got shot, I was walking away facing the back. Why would I lie about getting shot? Why are y'all so upset that I don't want to be in bed sad? Why y'all upset that I can walk? I got stitches out of my foot like 2 weeks ago. I was ready to go celebrate WAP going #1. I usually don't address internet BS, but y'all people are so quick. God was really watching over me and I'm healing. Sorry, I'm not sad and miserable as a lot of y'all, but I'm gonna keep being Megan. Okay, so she didn't say it there, so I don't know. Did she make any other statements? Hold on, let me see. Again, like I said, I didn't know if she would have said it or not, but I just wanted to find out. Let me bring y'all back. Let me see if there was something else. Hold on. Let me search social media real quick. I want to know where that came from.
She might have said it in one of her lives. She did 2 lives that related to this case, related to this incident, 2 Instagram lives. So maybe she said it in one of them, but I don't think she said it in the one when she had green hair. It would be the other one.
Okay, here we go. Quote from ABC News. Okay, here we go. Boom. Facts. I like to go with the facts. What was said? What did we really say? Okay. What did we really say? All right, let's bring it up. I'm gonna bring it up and show y'all ABC News quote right here, where she said that she still has nerve damage in her feet. Hold on, let me bring it up. Let's see. All right. All right. So this was a quote from Meg Thee Stallion that she quoted. This article was written up December 14th. So let me pull down my green screen so that y'all can see it. Hold on. Let me. All right. So let me make sure y'all can see it. So this is Eyewitness News, ABC 7, and they are quoting Meg, saying, "I still have nerve damage." Megan Thee Stallion recounts what led to her alleged shooting in court. So it says, in Los Angeles, California, Megan Thee Stallion took to the witness stand in Los Angeles courtroom on Tuesday, where the hip hop star recounted the events that led up to the night when she allegedly shot and injured by the rapper Tory Lanez in the Hollywood Hills. The Grammy-winning artist, whose legal name is Megan Peep, testified that on the night of July 12, 2020, she got out of a car following an argument with Lanez, and as she walked away, she turned her head and saw him with a gun, according to the reporter that was in the courtroom. He was holding the gun, pointing at me, she said, and then he said, "Dance beat," and fired his gun, injuring both feet. "I froze. I felt shocked," she said. "I really wasn't sure if this was happening. I looked at the ground and saw blood. Everyone was shocked." Megan also alleged that Lane offered her money to stay quiet. Hold on, I want to get to the nerve damage part. Megan,
Slide.
Okay.
Oh, sure. Why would she not?
Okay. So right here it says, according to prosecutors, Megan's former friend Kelsey Harris and Lane's bodyguard were present when the shooting took place, and Kelsey is expected to testify Wednesday. A doctor who treated Megan's foot is set to take the witness stand on Thursday. Megan said, "I still have nerve damage." Megan said on the stand, according to KABC, describing her feet. Okay. So they said that she did say that she had nerve damage. I don't know if y'all can see that, but that's what they say. So anyway, all right, let that go back up. All right, let me go back to y'all. All right, so we're back. So y'all did hear the doctor say that she did not have nerve damage?
Correct.
Okay.
I didn't hear.
So that's another. Yeah, so she just said it on the 14th that she had nerve damage in her feet. And if I didn't hear the doctor, I wasn't there for the doctor's testimony. Y'all saying that the doctor testified that she did not have nerve damage. So that's why the defense pointed out that she said yet another lie.
Right. So I don't recall anything in regards to the conversation about the. You were there when Megan gave her testimony, and you said you don't recall her mentioning the nerve.
Yeah, but ABC said that they heard her. You can Google it. You can put the article. If you type in Google Meg nerve damage to her feet, it says that she testified that in court with a couple publications.
They said that she said that in court in that article?
Yeah, they said she said it in court. She testified to that in court. It said in court, she said, "I still have nerve damage." Megan said on the stand to KABC, describing the surgery she had in her foot.
I might have missed that then, but I can go back to my notes.
She said that to KABC.
Okay.
Oh, no. She said it on the stand, and that's according to KABC, who was there. Okay. Yeah, she said it on the stand.
Yeah, I can't speak to that. I have no.
Yeah, if you Google it, it's on there.
But that's just one of many.
So I'm just saying that's one of them. So I was going through the list. So that's why I was trying to get factual information on that part because I wasn't there. So what did you what did you make of it?
I thought another interesting fabrication was she was adamant that she had no issue with Tory Lanez staying with Kylie Jenner in the pool. She said that in court. She said that on the Instagram Live where she has the green hair. And it's clear this is where it all starts from. The whole confrontation, the whole argument, it starts from Tory not wanting to leave, him wanting to hang out with Kylie, and her making a big deal about leaving with Tory rather than just going home with EJ. She also lied that EJ had left already. And that's the reason why I was telling Tory to take me home. But EJ was there the entire time. So she could have easily just left with EJ, but she didn't want to leave with EJ. She wanted to leave with Tory because Tory was having fun with Kylie.
So overall, because this kind of went long. So overall, listening to how they focus, their focus was discrediting her as a witness.
Right.
And when you heard the jury instruction, they kept saying the jury instruction is to throw out any witness that has a significant amount of lies. Do you think that they proved that she had a significant amount of lies?
They proved it multiple times. Yeah. There's no doubt. There's no doubt that anyone in that courtroom that saw her testify on Tuesday, on the second day, there's no way you did not come to the conclusion that she was not being 100% honest. Under oath. Add that. Under oath.
So what they said was, if you listen to testimony and you think half of it may be true and half is untrue, you can take the half that you believe to be true and you could throw out the part that you don't believe true. But if there is a significant amount of things that you feel is untrue, then you need to throw out the whole testimony.
That's absolutely true. The jury has the option to disregard her entire testimony.
So do you think with what they presented, do you think they presented enough to throw out her testimony is what I'm asking?
Well, each juror is going to look at that different. That's why they're going to deliberate. Some jurors might say, well, she only lied 3 times or, 4 times. Another juror might say, nah, she lied like 8 times. So that they might not have agreement on that, Mm-hmm. I haven't actually counted them, but I think she lied more than 5 times, just thinking right off the top of my head. And it's 5 times, and she testified for the entire day from the morning. She started at 11:18, and then they went to lunch, came back at 1:30, and finished around a little after 4. So you figure there's at least 4 hours that she's testifying. How many lies in a 4-hour testimony is enough to discredit it? I don't have the answer. I don't know. Is it 5 lies? Is it 6, 7? That's for the jury to decide, and I don't want to be trying to manipulate the jury in any way, shape, or form.
I mean, we're not going to be in the room, so I'm just saying, what do you think? We ain't talking to the jury, or we ain't even going to be nowhere near them.
Well, I always think the juries are watching. I believe there's jurors that are watching your live right now. I have to think that way. Even though the jurors have the judge always orders them not to go on the internet, not to look at social media. We know they're doing that anyways.
You think so? You think that they're not listening to that?
They're absolutely on the internet. Every time something comes up, they're going home to Google it. Most jurors. Now, there's some jurors that are a little bit older. There's some jurors there's at least 2 jurors that are about 60. Maybe not them. But everybody that's like 45 and under that understands how to go on the internet, yeah, they're doing that.
Even if they think that they might get in trouble, because in my mind, I'm thinking maybe they could track my IP. They gonna know I looked it up.
Well, you won't get in trouble for going on the internet, but
they're not tracking those jurors like that, Nick.
Yeah. If they were that concerned, they would sequester them.
Right. They barely want to walk them out of the courtroom to ensure that they're not near anyone that's in the gallery or,
and make sure they're not in the cafeteria when we eating and stuff.
Right. So
walking behind.
They're not checking IP addresses. They're not checking to see what you're doing when you go home. They
I was in the cafeteria today. I was looking around. I was like,
right. Right.
Interesting. Okay, I'm going to go way over here.
Because there was talk about, the possibility of the sheriff office starting to kind of escort the jury everywhere. But I don't believe that they ever did that.
Yeah. Well, I guess we could wrap there. I wish Alex would have joined sooner.
Wow,
But
you guys been on for 3 hours?
yeah.
Well, I for like one, but we appreciate your presence, Alex. I do feel that, you gave a lot of insight, and we do appreciate the insight that you provided.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Alex said, I'm about to say stuff factual and I don't want to mislead the jury.
Right. And we're there from day one. Neither of us had been there from day one. So there was a lot that we didn't get to see.
But Alex said at lunch, he trying to be politically correct now. But he said at lunch before closing arguments that he felt 60%. What'd you say? 60%?
I think I said 65-70 defense, maybe 30-35 prosecution.
After the closing arguments, what are those numbers?
I think that after hearing McDesian do his closing argument, which isn't finished, by the way, he's still going to continue in the morning. I think he came with harder points than the prosecution. I think, the prosecution has the text, the apology text, and the apology phone call, and maybe a couple other things. McDesian has lies of Kelsey, multiple of them. Lies from Megan Thee Stallion, multiple of them. And then he's got other things that benefit him. Lack of DNA, GSR on both Kelsey and Tory's hands. Lack of an adequate investigation. They didn't even test DNA on the shell casings, which we learned that last week. So McDesian's got way more points to hit.
And did you notice how the officers, when the officer Cabral was testifying, she didn't understand what the defense said, but she understood and she answered for the prosecution, even though she read transcripts?
Yeah, I didn't like the way both Sandra Cabral and Jody Little testified. It was clearly obvious that they were avoiding answering his questions. And when you want to look like a good expert, you got to concede some points sometimes. You got to say, yeah, you're right, McDesian. Yeah, I agree with that. But both Jody Little and Sandra Cabral, they just refuse to answer his questions like fairly. And I've testified on cases. I've been in the same seat that they're on. And I've learned that you got to concede. You got to say, you know what? Yeah, you're right. You're right, DA. That can be true. Yes, I did read that. Yes, that's a possibility. That looks better in front of a jury, So I didn't think those two witnesses did a good job at being experts on the stand.
All right. Well, we will wrap there.
Somebody said it shows the corruption. Nah, it's our natural inclination that if you're on one side, you're gonna try to answer that your answers lean towards that side. That's just human nature. I'm not suggesting that they're corrupt in any way, shape, or form. It's just a natural way. The LAPD is there to help the prosecution. So she does not want to.
You go. You weren't here. This is the last thing I'm gonna ask you. This is the last thing, and we're gonna go for real. Okay.
Yeah.
When the defense said for all of us to look at the judge, did you look at the judge?
I did not.
Where were you looking?
I was taking notes.
So you never looked at the judge?
Oh, you mean at what point?
When he was talking about the immunity.
No, I didn't look at the judge. I know this judge, by the way. So, I wasn't
look up at the judge when he told us to look up at the judge.
No, I actually didn't. I was taking notes, and I'm sure he had a look on his face like, the look on his face should have been a neutral look, but I didn't look. What was the look?
Like he agreed with McDesian.
Well,
what was the look to you?
Yeah, it was like, yeah, well, he said it.
And this was at the time when they were asking, when he was talking about the immunity, right?
Yeah.
So he said if Kelsey had no culpability in this and she was just this loving, concerning friend and she had no involvement, do you think that the judge would allow her to invoke her Fifth Amendment? Do you think that the judge, he said, look at the judge. Do you think that he would allow her to invoke her immunity? And then the judge was like, it was subtle, but it was like,
Yep.
you know, because I
You
was
know-
looking, he told me to look at the judge, so I was waiting for what the judge was gonna do, and the judge was like, it was real, it was subtle though, but he was like,
You know, there's a possibility that Kelsey went into his chambers and said, Your Honor, I don't want to testify. And then the judge says, why? And she said the same thing she said on the stand, because I don't want to self-incriminate myself. And then the judge would have said, well, exactly how would you self-incriminate yourself? It's just me and your attorney here. Tell the truth. And she probably said something that where the judge was like, oh, okay, definitely. You're gonna need to you definitely complete the fifth. So what did she say to the judge? Did she actually say, I'm the one that shot, or I was involved in the shooting, or it's my gun, or
I don't feel like she probably said that, but maybe she talked about the fighting and claimed that
it would have to
be worried about that.
Feel like she can be charged.
Yeah, something that could charge her.
Right.
Because she couldn't be charged for her to fight.
Well, technically that's an assault.
She agreed to taking a bribe then? Because she said in open court that she did not take a bribe. So that's something she testified to under oath, and she didn't have an immunity deal for the bribe. She only had did she have immunity deal for the bribe?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think she cares about under oath because, again, when she did the interview in September, she was under oath then too. And she mentioned that in the interview when they played the recording. She said that, I'm under oath.
I'm not before the immunity whole situation though. Right,
but still, I'm saying as far as the oath, I don't think that she cares about the oath in itself because she claimed that she lied when she was under oath at that time.
She took an oath in September of 2022 with the prosecutors?
Yes.
Okay. Was that on audio or they just said that?
On audio.
Oh, okay. I missed that part.
Yeah.
So on the audio, they said you're testifying under oath.
She said that. She has stated that, I'm under oath. I wouldn't lie. And then she came into court and said, I lied.
Oh, okay. So she wasn't officially like under oath.
Well, I can't.
It was like she just was saying like, oh, I'm under oath, but she wasn't like really under oath.
Well, I didn't hear them give her an oath in the beginning of the audio. That's what I was asking.
Right. I can't. I don't recall them giving her the oath either, but I do recall her making that statement because when she said that, I was like, okay, so you are aware that you're under oath and then you come into court and then you say that everything that you said on that testimony was a lie.
All right. Well, we can wrap there. I will see you guys tomorrow.
Are you coming tomorrow for sure?
Yeah, I'm gonna come.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm gonna come. I don't if they go into deliberation, I'm not gonna wait. I'm gonna just wait for the verdict at home and I'll just, I don't think at first I was like, I'm gonna wait and see what I probably ain't gonna wait.
Did you hear the court officer say that they might just send everybody home after closing arguments and tell them to come back on Tuesday to deliberate?
No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, it's tentative. It's tentative.
Do you think it will be a long deliberation?
I
don't know. Well, I mean, 3 counts. So I don't think it should take more than a day and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, and there might be some disagreement on one of the counts. So, I mean, if they're going to they might start deliberating tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
But, who knows? Who knows?
I appreciate you guys because
they might be unanimous like within an hour, though. That could happen, too. But I guess we'll see you tomorrow. Is everyone going to be there tomorrow?
Likely. I'll probably come in the afternoon. I have to deal with some clients first. I got some client work to take care of.
Okay. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
All righty.
All right. Peace out.
Bye.